Okay, we are live here with Steph and Quacks, and we are going to be covering the man, the myth, and the legend, true believer, Bill Cooper. Um, he is what would you call him? The glue that holds all conspiracy umbrella, like kind of the umbrella of conspiracies together, like the granddaddy of conspiracies? How
I
would
don't
you
know if
describe
I'd
him?
go that far.
Not that far?
Um, yeah, I'd say he's kind of the father of the super conspiracy.
There we go. The father of super conspiracies. That's a good way to describe him.
And a lot of common of what we consider now to be common conspiracy theory tropes, they didn't necessarily originate from him, but he really did like give them a little boost.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he tied a lot of things together.
He kind of because he had the grand conspiracy, would you say that kind of led to what we have with QAnon today? Like a lot of them adapted and kind of that umbrella of conspiracies helped with that?
Well, I don't think that you could really have QAnon. At least it wouldn't be called QAnon because I think that um, the very idea of the Q clearance came out of that particular strain of conspiracism. I'm not sure if there was
He
other
had
people
it.
before him, but yeah, he claimed that he had Q conspiracy
Q
or Q
clearance.
clearance, and he specifically tied it to the MJ12, which is the secret government um, group that was dealing with the aliens.
Yes.
So, like a lot of people don't realize that the whole QAnon thing has the alien conspiracism baked right in, partly from being called Q, and along with that, when they had the Ask Me Anything, when somebody said, are there really aliens? And he says, yes, it's like at the highest level of clearance, which would, according to conspiracy lore, would be Q clearance. So that's all baked right in there.
Which is
And
interesting because Q clearance comes from the Department of Energy. And I have his military records, and he claimed he worked for the U.S. Navy, Air Force, Navy intelligence. But from public records, he was in the Navy and he was only an E5. He was a sergeant, which is petty officer, second class. And he did a tour of duty in Vietnam and he got 2 service medals. And at the end of the war, he was working in Navy intelligence. So, like the Q clearance is bullshit from him. Like, that's just something he said.
And people for years were saying, oh, well, the Q clearance of QAnon makes no sense in relation to QAnon because it's Department of Energy and they're claiming to be military and all this and all that. But it makes perfect sense if you're taking it straight out of William Cooper and other authors. I've found it in other authors since, but I'd have to go over my notes to really remember who. But
Yeah. Hi, Taylor.
hey, Taylor, I wanted to point out something about his military background that I found interesting, and it was something that I caught in the book by Mark Jacobson, the biography of Cooper. Um, he said he's talking, because a lot of his secrets supposedly came from his time in the military, and he said these secrets were there. What had been, I'm trying to read my own handwriting. I'm sorry. What had been conveyed up there was something up the treasonous betrayal. I looked right into the heart of it. He said, I looked right into the heart. And I want you to focus on that specific phrasing because there's also another in the book, in the biography about him. There was a time that he went to go see Apocalypse Now. And he said, this is me. This is what I did. So and I don't know if I forget if what's his name had Q clearance in Apocalypse Now and stuff, but
No.
Apocalypse Now was a remake of Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, and Cooper is like
Well,
all over
pretty
that shit.
loosely.
Right, but I mean
I mean,
Cooper like had an attachment to it, and his wording shows that.
yeah. I would say it was inspired by Hearts of Darkness.
Well, and a lot of the Alex Jones and Bill Cooper and others see movies as kind of documentaries, and they like to pick those as reminiscent of real life events or past events, or um, it's reminiscent of parts of their lives or biographies or things like that, which I always find very interesting.
Oh, and I had something written down about the grand conspiracy thing. There at the infamous Mirage Men 1989 MUFON symposium at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. This was when the whole Richard Doty thing came up, and it's in the book Mirage Men and also the documentary of the same name. It was at this event that I think it was at this event. I forget which event it was at, but that was a big event. But I'm sorry, my notes are a little muddled, and so is my brain. Basically, Cooper at one time said, "Without aliens, you can't tie it all together." And this was before he then disavowed the UFO movement. But it's very indicative of how he was like looking for the proper puzzle pieces. He had the puzzle, he just needed all the pieces to make it fit for him.
You know, we talk about him like he's a true believer, but I'd like to play devil's advocate on that
Okay.
and say that, there's a large part of me that thinks that he just pulled all this shit out of his ass.
Well,
And
yeah,
um,
I
the,
agree.
I'm
particularly,
seeing that too.
I've leaned more towards that now, today, even because I spent a little bit of time reading some of the people in the UFO, particularly Don Ecker's uh, commentaries about him, to look into the accusations of plagiarism that I had heard reference to, and particularly after Steph presented me with a flow chart of how she thought it all worked out. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Um, uh, his his original ideas come from two things. Number one, he says that he saw a bunch of UFOs, or possibly the same UFO, flying in and out of the water repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe he saw something or was made to see something. Maybe he didn't. I tend to think that he pulled that shit out of his ass.
I do too.
Um, and then there's the idea of, he says that he saw documents which reinforced the other people's ideas of Majestic or MJ12. Um,
And he waited
so
16 years till he first told about the submersible.
yeah, so there's either two ways to look at, I think, the idea of the documents. Either he just outright plagiarized the stuff, which I tend to lean towards, or he was fed some of the same basic documents that were being fed around by the OSI. And
And
you know,
and apparently Lear was rumored to have been like a CIA asset.
the Lear
So,
Lear 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 worked for the CIA. He was a pilot for the
Yeah.
CIA.
Well,
and
and
Um,
he might have been the October surprise pilot.
on the of him being a true believer, I came across in listening to stuff and um reviewing things about him in different episodes outside of the one we're going to listen to and watch here, he was into big his people on his show and people he's friends with selling gold just like Alex Jones and grifting off of that. So
Oh yeah, that was big throughout his show.
yeah, so I mean when you look at that and the
Was it
different
through
things,
the same gold company that
no, it's
Alex
a
goes?
different guy.
Okay.
No.
But and there's different grifting things that he does and donations and different things you come across if you really pay attention. So, you know, and then him disavowing the aliens whenever that was such a big story. And he tells about on the eve of his wedding, letting out all these, you know, alien conspiracy theories and, you know, going to MUFON conferences and this stuff. Like he went with the tide a lot of the time. So it's like we say about a true believer, but I also think he became a TI later in his life, a targeted
Yeah, yeah,
individual.
especially the FBI file, that article he wrote that they had
Yeah.
in his FBI file. Yeah, and a lot of even some of the ideas he presented in Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars were very specifically worded in TI language.
Yeah.
What we would, and also Mark Jacobson said that that if anyone's familiar with the book House of Leaves, that's kind of the style of Behold a Pale Horse, very scrapbook, very hodgepodge. And he said that the edition that has protocols in it, the protocols take up 15% of the entire book. And then there's a reprint of a pamphlet written by someone else. So he really didn't do any writing in this book. Like maybe he made like a few little scribbles in the side and that made it into the, the photocopy that they made or something, but he
Well, no, he
really
did
didn't
write.
do.
He did write quite a bit of it. I mean, a lot of it was, you know,
But a lot of it was reprint. A lot of it was reprint of other stuff. Like the amount that he wrote was like
mhm.
far less than what you would
It is
expect.
because that's what I fast read today. I sped read and I was like, holy shit. Like when you really read it, like, cause it's a couple hundred pages or whatever, like I would have to pull it up here. But what Bill Cooper's contribution is it to it compared to what they just kind of copy pasted into it from other places is quite minuscule to like what he wrote. Now he did contribute, don't get me wrong, to what he put in.
Yeah,
But
there's a few chapters that he wrote, but
yeah, there is.
the
But I was
interesting
like,
thing is that all of those chapters were rewritten
yeah,
essays that he had already published. So,
yeah.
like, there wasn't any new writing in the book,
No, there wasn't. Hey,
but
It
Bert.
just
there definitely was more than a few scribbles.
Yeah.
there really aren't many hardworking conspiracy theorists anymore, are
No,
there?
they're quite fucking lazy.
They generally have been. One thing that I'd like to note that I learned a bit more about today, particularly from reading Ecker, um, is that it seems he really changed his story as he went along, and a lot of that, a lot of his dropping of the alien conspiracy thing seems to have coincided with him losing the faith of the general UFO community.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense when you step back and you go, oh, when he was being outed as a fraud by the serious side of the community, of course, Beckley still promoted him because Beckley was a complete whack job and would promote the deepest whack jobs out there. But he had really lost a good portion of the UFO community.
And
So
Valet.
then he turns to calling the UFO community fraudulent and saying that they're all a psyop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Valet hated him too. Like he sat down with Valet and he proceeded to get drunk, and Valet later said that because of his impression of Bill was that because he didn't eat every single thing up with like the utmost enthusiasm, that's why Cooper suddenly decided to hate him, and he was just not impressed
So
with
then he
Cooper.
takes
And
a turn to the militia community.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, I do want to change. I did think that he was a true believer, and I apologize. I didn't get through rereading the whole book again, but in time for this. But I'm glad I'm rereading it because when I read it before, I didn't know the stuff that I know now. Like I didn't know a
No, I
lot of
really thought he
the
was a true believer too until, and it's interesting revisiting the material now and looking at it. And I was like, after, listening to stuff this week, I was like, huh, I really thought he was, but now, like, looking at him as a targeted individual at the end of his life and the militia movement, and, I do think he was a fervent believer in that, and he's
and
responsible, in part. He's not totally responsible for,
yeah,
the militia movement we have today, but he is in large part, he's a piece of the puzzle for what we have today, and the beliefs and, the latching on. But, I think he was very much a targeted individual at the end of his life. But I also think he was part grifter too. He's a complex man.
yeah,
There's a lot of moving pieces to
and
him.
Well, in
that's
in the
that's
end, he made himself targeted too.
Yeah, he did.
yeah, and the interesting thing is like there's this strange parallel, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Quacks, between him and Benowitz. Like he was at the MUFON symposium where Moore revealed that he was under the instruction of Doty to fuck with Paul Benowitz's mind and make him think he was seeing UFOs and shit. And then
That
and
was
then
a
he was like,
gift to
oh,
Cooper.
well, Cooper was that, and he was like, "Oh shit," because the Lear hypothesis was based on a lot of the Benowitz stuff, but he went away with it anyway. And then later on, he comes out and he says, "I think the government was fucking with me, getting me to do their work." It was like this strange parallel between their two lives and how they kind of went on the same path. And one of them, the government was fucking with, definitely. The other one, it was pretty much in his head, but both men went crazy.
Now Benowitz is the one that the CIA fed Majestic 12 to, right? The false information.
The OSI.
Oh, OSI. Okay.
That's the Air Force. It's always
Yeah.
the Air Force.
And that's where the that and I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where a lot of the dumb stuff started, and that's
Correct.
specifically where the Dolce underground bases, that's where that
Which the
specifically
dumbs have
started.
fed into QAnon. Like all of this stuff is rooted
It
back
is.
then.
Well, the dumbs are never. I don't believe that the dumbs are not mentioned at all in the Q drops. It's part of QAnon culture.
Yeah, it is.
There's a huge part of QAnon culture which is basically just um, alien conspiracism that is not even mentioned in the Q drops,
No,
like
you're correct.
adrenochrome, um, the dumbs.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things, but like yeah, and stuff like Nasara
Yeah.
is not mentioned in it, but yet that became part of QAnon culture because QAnon culture was largely just the MJ12 conspiracism.
Yeah.
With they threw evangelical Christian veneer on it,
Mm-hmm.
which was partly there in some cases anyway. Like, Cooper was very Christian.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but he also said that, like, he also said stuff like, he was into
Hey, Bex.
the project like Bluebeam stuff. I don't know if he specifically called it Project Bluebeam, but him and Lear were talking about the aliens had this holographic technology that could beam stuff, and Cooper himself believed that Fatima was the use of alien technology, and he
Those are
believed
his
that
part 1, 2, and 3, right? Whatever he called those, 1, 2, and 3. They're what the hell did he call those? Because I had to learn those today too. I was like, what the heck?
but the thing is that like
Oh, alternative 1, 2, and 3.
Oh
with
yeah,
Project
Emily
Bluebeam,
has a really good thing on Alternative 3, a video. Weird Reads
I
Emily.
didn't even come across that. What is the alternative 1, 2, and
That's
3?
what you're referring to, like the
Okay.
hologram. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see the
No,
specific names.
Alternative 1, 2, and 3 is like how to survive the collapse of civilization.
No,
If
but
I'm
he
not
does
mistaken.
refer to the hologram of like Jesus and
And
Fatima and stuff. Yeah.
they're always religious. He always specifically said that the aliens would use religion and oh, I have the world's best husband. Thank you, darling. Oh, he's so sweet.
I can pull up the
Um,
book because I was like, that's fucking fascinating.
thank
I
you,
was like,
sweetheart.
what is this hologram about Fatima? And then he came up with this alternative 1,
And
2, and 3. I didn't get to
that's
fully read it,
always
so I trust
been,
you, Quacks, but it starts with Fatima.
and correct me again if I'm wrong. That goes for everything. But Project Bluebeam, if my recollection serves correctly, it always specifically has a religious or mystical element to it. Where if you believe in God, you'll see a vision of God. If you believe in Krishna, the guy standing next to you is going to see God, but you're seeing Krishna. So, but that was my recollection of what Project Bluebeam was, where the alien technology is able to beam, like the holodeck on Star Trek. It's programmed specifically for each person.
If I'm not mistaken, and I could be a little off on the first two, but alternative 1 is depopulation, alternative 2 is underground bunkers, and alternative 3 is colonizing Mars.
I'm trying to get there to look at it. I'm looking for page, because I was fascinated by it.
But the third
Page
alternative is
215.
definitely colonizing Mars.
215. Let me get there. I am
I mean,
scrolling
it
right
was
now.
some weird ass
It
shit.
is. He is a really unique character.
But
215.
that was a British mockumentary that was done as, it was originally supposed to be released as an April Fool's joke, but because of production problems, it didn't get released till after April, and they put it out saying like it was a real documentary, and a whole bunch of people believed it, but it was really just a joke. And that it became a huge conspiracy thing, or conspiracy theory thing in its own. And Cooper definitely referenced Alternative 3 in his book and
Oh, I'm
in
not talking
interviews.
about that movie documentary. I know what you're talking about there. I'm talking about something different.
Is that the
in this book.
documentary that Doyle did?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Alternative 3 is... You should actually look into that, Steph, because...
Am I going to get lost? Am I going to get lost? I want to get lost.
Okay, here's the holograms.
Yeah, that came out in 1977.
Yeah, it's a fascinating. Who did I watch that had a really good special about that? It was
Emily.
really, really good. It might be Emily. Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, Emily. Yeah, Weird Reads by Emily.
Yeah.
Yes, she did a really good thing about that.
And some of the stuff that I saw in the book,
I'll find it later when we start watching this. It's in here somewhere.
Cooper was coming into this stuff kind of like in like the real heyday when this really was like the golden era for this kind of stuff, because this was Roswell started getting bigger, all and then in the 90s, as Cooper was still going strong in the 90s. In the 90s, I guess Chris Carter said that Behold a Pale Horse inspired a lot of his stuff too. So it's
this is what I was talking about. Go ahead, Steph. He said alternative 1 was to use nuclear devices to blast holes in the stratosphere. And then 1 was to build a vast network of underground cities.
Has anybody ever suggested that Independence Day was some kind of predictive programming for Cooper's shit?
And then 3 was to exploit alien and conventional technology. This is where I was like, what the fuck was he talking about? And the aliens showed a hologram, which they claimed was the actual crucifixion of Christ.
That comes from the MJ-12 documents.
Yeah.
And the stuff with that he was saying with their
And
technology,
there's the events of Fatima. Like I said, it was linked to Fatima.
the stuff that he was saying with that, with the Fatima stuff, he was saying that he
Hi,
said that they
Muggsy.
wanted to a direct quote, they wanted to control humanity through religion, Satanism, witchcraft, magic, and the occult. And here it does mention about the crucifixion, and there was a shit. I kind of forgot where he said Fatima was quote an alien manipulation, and Akashic records. Lear's hypothesis, which Cooper later expanded on, said that the EBEs have a device that has recorded all of Earth's history and can display it in a form of a hologram. So it's kind of a combination of the Akashic records and Project Bluebeam.
So unusual. So unusual. Oh, well, shall we get this rolling and see a little bit? This is I came upon this today, and then Quacks found a better version. But this is an interview that Bill did for CNN, and it's a full length. We're only going to watch about a half hour of it, but this is
the
kind of
93?
oh,
92.
okay.
92. This is the 92 one. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, when I went to look up the date, that I found there was a whole bunch of versions of it up there.
Yeah, and the next comment section was interesting because people were acting like this is going to disappear. It's so hard to find. They're like, "Can you save this or archive it? Like, we need this treasure. It might disappear." And I'm like, "Calm down, everybody. It's everywhere. Like, we're not going to lose it. Like, it's fine."
Well, a lot of those things do get taken down rather repeatedly.
But I'm sure it's archived. Like, people save this stuff and put it up.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be okay, everybody. Calm down. We live in a great digital age, you know? But it's interesting, this video, because I did watch about an hour of it today, because the interviewer kind of just lets Bill go. Like, they don't challenge him. They let
Not
him
at all.
just go. Bill just takes off with his lies and his stories, you know?
It's like Art Bell interviewing William Luther Pierce.
Yeah, they just let him go. So
Or anyone else for that.
Yeah, right?
they just let him go. They just let Bill go.
Maybe I'll get screwed, maybe I won't, but I'm just going to go for it anyway. So your attitude, or what?
Well, it's been my attitude. Now my attitude is I just don't want that to happen anymore. You know, so I'm very reluctant to believe what anybody tells me anymore.
Right. But have you developed an intuitive sense, perhaps, now? I mean, because you know how that can do. It can start shutting you down from certain experiences or certain places where you might need to be.
That's true, and to a certain extent, I have an intuitive sense of where somebody's coming from, but it doesn't always work. You know, that's what makes a con man a good con man, is that you get the perception that they're telling you the truth.
Okay.
This is peak professional.
And
right?
So someone who's really good at it,
right,
can snow you. Or me, anyway. I don't know about you.
Hold on 1 second. Let me grab my...
That's
Yeah, you wanna
Emily
watch the face
Louise's
right now?
channel.
Okay.
Go check it out. She does great exploring videos.
You all right, Robert?
Mm-hmm. Robert, you set? Yes, I am. Scott, you're set?
Yes.
Bill, you ready?
Yep.
Bill, well, thanks for agreeing to the interview. First of all, a little bit about your background. You had extensive military service for many years prior to 1970, where a certain aspect of that military service kicked upstairs, so you were able to see certain things that you were not able to see beforehand. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
It actually started much longer in my past than that. I was reared in a military family. My father's an Air Force colonel. He's retired now. He was a command pilot. And as a child, I remember sitting around I remember the pilots at our house sitting around the kitchen table, talking about their exploits in the cockpit and what they had seen in the skies. And some of that talk involved UFOs and what some of them called Foo Fighters. and I traveled all over the world, lived on military bases for most of my life. I was really an indoctrinated individual, you might say. I was as establishment as you could get, as gung ho,
I was
pro
establishment as you
government,
could get. Okay, Bill.
pro America, pro military, and that's why I went into the military, because that had been so much of my life. I went into the Air Force. I was in the Strategic Air Command for 4 years as an aircraft and missile hydraulic technician, which is I worked on the pneumatic and hydraulic systems of B-50.
Quick question. I was reading something about Bill. Maybe it was in a book that the guy wrote about him, but it said he lost his leg in 1976. Now, was that just a regular car accident? Because Bill says that he was chased down in a
By
limousine
Men
off
in
a
Black.
cliff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by Men in Black,
Was it just a
basically.
regular accident and he lost his leg?
I didn't look into that. I'm just,
Me either.
I don't
I
know.
mean, I could see someone like Bill getting into like a road rage thing. You know what I mean?
But I was like, I never knew he lost a leg. I was like, oh, Bill lost a leg. But okay.
And I in my mind, I'm imagining him as that one baseball guy who had a fake leg and used it as an ashtray. I'm just gonna picture that, okay?
Yeah.
52 bombers, KC-135 aircraft, and Minuteman missiles. I had a secret security clearance. That's where I saw my first atomic bomb. I mean, we worked around in these planes, especially the ones on the alert pad, were always loaded, ready to go drop these bombs at a moment's notice. But while I was in the Air Force, I met sergeants, men who
I'm
were
pretty
older than
sure
me,
atomic
and
weapons
had
are
been in
only
the Air Force
stored at
for
certain
quite a while,
facilities, not
told me
just
that they had
everyone.
participated in projects that had recovered
What was that you
crashed
said, Seth?
extraterrestrial craft, what you call you.
I wanted to make a point here, and um, only certain, as far as I know, only certain military bases have atomic weapons stored at them. And another fact that he's saying that they were always loaded and ready to go. Okay, now this only applies to the era of 9/11, but one of the reasons that the jets that were eventually scrambled but missed Flight 93, the two fighter jets had an agreement as to which one was going to ram the cockpit and which one was going to ram the tail, because these fighter pilots were not preloaded with missiles. And obviously, Cooper's talking about different missiles at a different base at a different time.
He's not
But I'm
talking
just
about
saying,
missiles. He's talking about bombs. He's
right?
talking about
But
Strategic Air Command, which would always
okay,
have
okay,
had
they would.
nuclear weapons at that time. And it's also
Okay, thank you.
notable that
I'm an idiot.
atomic well the fighter planes aren't going to have nuclear weapons generally. That it's going to be bombers. But it's worth noting that atomic weaponry also falls under the purview of the Department of Energy, and that would likely be where he at least knew about Q clearance.
Okay, okay.
But
Well, thank you for correcting me, and I'm sorry that I went off on a half-cocked thing.
Stop
the,
saying you're sorry.
Foes. And they never told these stories unless they've had quite a bit to drink. So I never really believed it. I thought, well, these guys are running a scam on me, even though I'd heard about these things when I was a kid. I just still didn't believe it. They're just so far out in left field. It's not something that you really give any serious thought to until something personal happens, which came later. While I left the Air Force, I went into the Navy, which is really where I wanted to be in the first place. I'd always had this tremendous.
They are trained to not talk when they're drunk, but can I tell you, I was a federal bartender and I had to get a low level clearance because if they
Uh-huh.
did blab when they were drunk, so that I wouldn't repeat it. So it is kind of funny
I have a friend who has clearance for their
because if they
job.
blab so that I wouldn't repeat stuff. Like it's so funny. Like
Yeah,
they're
well,
worried
that
about
that
them
was
blabbing.
that was one of the questions I asked them. Like, I go out with you. I know you like to have a few drinks. what happens then? Like, what if I take you out? I'm like, so about that top secret, blah blah blah. And
Training only goes so far.
And that's why
right, but
bartenders have to get clearances. Yeah.
and people with clearance have to take polygraphs like every so often, and they even have to like report, like if their neighbor it was like in another country or had lived in another country, they have to report their neighbor to their employer because that's considered like part of the clearance. At least it is for my friend. And so like it just like, yeah, like
There's
they
layers to
could,
stop it. Yeah.
yeah, they could let it slip, but I mean the training,
Hmm.
they really, really, yeah.
And there's layers to protect it. Like, yeah. And it's ridiculous that I was a federal bartender, but it's true.
Plus,
True
That's
story.
awesome.
the stories of Foo Fighters were pretty public.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Feeling in connection with the ocean. I was an excellent swimmer, but I had a problem as a child. I had chronic motion sickness. If I got in a car and we went on a long trip, I got deathly ill. And same with boats or anything. I couldn't ride on the things at the carnival that went around and around because it just made me tremendously ill. But I decided after I had gone through the Air Force experience that sick or not, I was going to go in the Navy because that's really what I had wanted to do. So I did. Volunteered for submarine duty and was assigned to the USS Tyru SS-416, which was a diesel electric boat, World War II type, that had been reconfigured. When I went on board the boat, it was in the dry dock at Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard and had literally been cut in half. They put in a 12-foot sonar section and then 3 domes on the deck for triangulating targets using sonar. And this was really one of the most up-to-date electronically submarines that we had. Wasn't a nuclear submarine, but as far as the ability to approach, get close to a target and destroy it, it had a better capacity to do that than any other boat that we had. While we were on a transit from the Portland-Seattle area on the surface, I was the port lookout, and I saw the most incredible thing that I think I've ever seen in my life. And it had such a profound effect upon my view of the universe and the world that we live in that I wish everybody could experience this. I saw come up out of the ocean, from beneath the surface of the sea, a huge disc-shaped craft about the size of a Midway-class aircraft carrier, which is tremendous in size. Even though that's one of our smallest carriers, or was then, it's still a huge, tremendously big object. Came up out of the ocean and rose into the air and tumbled on its axis and went up into the clouds. And I was awestruck, dumbstruck. And I mean, dumbstruck, literally, I could not utter a sound. And my first impulse was to tell the officer of the deck that I'd seen a flying saucer. And then luckily for me, I couldn't talk because on second thought, that's not what I really wanted to say. Because I didn't want to be the only Looney Tunes character on a submarine with a tight-knit crew that you had to live close quarters with, because that's a hell of a way to live. So I told the officer of the deck that I'd seen something about 15 degrees off the port bow at a relative distance of about 2.5 nautical miles. And he began to look in that area. And the starboard lookout had heard me tell him this, and he began to look over there. And while we were all three watching, either the same craft or another one exactly like it came down out of the clouds, tumbled again on its, why it did this maneuver, I don't know, but every single time it did it. It's like it came down in this attitude, and then it flipped over and then entered the water. And the water just appeared to open up in front of it. It's just like the account in the Bible about the parting of the Red Sea. That's exactly what happened. The sea actually parted, and this thing went into the water, and it closed up behind it. And this big.
So that bit about the UFO parting the Red Sea,
Yeah.
that is actually straight out of George Hunt Williamson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who claimed that the parting of the Red Sea was the force field of a UFO or a flying saucer.
I
Was
didn't know
that
that.
from the book, The UFO and Bibles? Or the Bible and UFOs?
I don't know about that, but um,
Okay, because there's a lot of like UFO lore connected to the Bible, like Ezekiel and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, and a lot of that was pioneered by Williamson.
So Cooper
So
probably knew that and took it.
yeah, I mean my point is that that was pretty established UFO lore well before he would have seen this stuff, because that came out of the 50s or 61 at the latest.
And I was gonna, I'm glad you called for a pause because I was gonna mention that Cooper was a child of the UFOs when all this would have taken place, and he would have grown up in that culture of, you know, the ufology taking off and the crafts and Roswell and all that stuff.
And also, you know, if he was living on all these bases with it when he was a kid, and you know, he's as a kid, he's getting some exposure to weird shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and who knows what stories are being told, you know?
Well, he would have had all the amazing TV shows too, TV, you know, coming on.
Oh, yeah, and all the sci fi shit, man.
I suspect at this point that he did a lot of research into UFOs before he came out with his conspiracism.
Oh, I would agree.
Well, he and Lear first connected on Paranet, which was like an alternate, like, kind of like message board thing,
Which is so
in
fascinating. He like hit the
89.
internet like so early on the
And that
boards.
is what that is one of the things that really stands out, like, you know, because we've talked about Cooper, Alex, and Jones, and like they're three of the biggest, and they were all,
I
and
mean,
Rush Limbaugh too was very early to jump on the possibilities of the internet, and they saw, you know, and because they're in broadcast, you know, these guys, these, you know, Rush Limbaugh knew a few things, you know.
I
um
mean, Cooper used to record his on cassettes, like, and then send it to the stations. I mean, how old school is that to send it,
and
you know?
Alex used to do stuff like that too. He would tell people, like, there would be like messages on his old VHS tapes that would be like, please copy this.
No, I mean, Cooper recorded and sent it to the
Oh
station to
yeah.
be, I mean, that's like,
Oh wow.
yeah, I found that in researching him. Like, he actually tape recorded and then sent it to the radio station.
Well,
Like, that's like how old school.
back before the World Wide Web started up, Usenet was the place where, or the method that a lot of these people would talk
Yep.
about things. Like I remember Alt Magic back in the day,
Yeah.
and then there
Yeah.
was Alt Conspiracy.
And that was where the very first controlled demolition conspiracy theory appeared on 9/11 2001 on a Usenet forum.
Yeah, and in the tie over between that and the militia scene is that um, the a lot of the pioneering of online bulletin board systems was so that Nazis could talk to each other.
Yeah, and that probably helped. Well, I'm not
That's
even probably,
interesting.
because it
Wow, you just blew my mind.
a lot easier to spread the message quicker and faster than pamphlets on a corner or, you
And
know, call this telephone number, you know?
well, it really was actually with the bulletin board systems. It was actually call this number. You know,
Oh, still, yeah.
you would dial into a bulletin board system, but like that was somewhat secure because you know you needed to know the number
Hmm.
of what it was. These weren't all connected online,
No, but a
but
lot easier, I mean, than the paper pamphlets that you would have had to do back in the
yeah,
20s,
that
30s,
cost a
40s,
lot of
50s.
money
Yeah.
mailing stuff
I
out,
remember I gotta
and the
tell
post
you,
office could shut you down.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you, like I don't think I've actually been on 4chan. I was on 8chan once, and that was when Q came back briefly. Um, but I understand that culture because, like, I was on BBS's in the 90s. I was on these, like, not Paranet. I don't know if I ever went on Usenet and stuff like that, but like the slime, the stew, the edginess, the Nazi jokes and funny stuff that was everywhere in those early bulletin board systems, no matter where you were, pretty much.
Well, I mean, pamphlets were still pretty big. Like for like the KKK was big in my area still in the early '90s. You know.
They were big in my area in Allentown. There was an Aryan Nations compound
Mm-hmm.
outside of Allentown. And then we had the Freeman brothers that murdered their family.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Well,
I met one of them.
pamphlets are your introductory level. That's what you pass out on the street.
Yeah.
And then once you get members, when people are trusted, then you bring them into the bulletin board systems.
Yeah, that's true. Because we had it even in I was in high school. They had a cross burning in a town near me after they got the pamphlets, and because they got chased off the street corner. But one of my friend's brothers actually joined. And you're right. It starts with the pamphlet, and then the meetings. And then bulletin boards are next, and then it accelerates from there.
And of
It's
course, not
terrifying.
everyone had a computer back then, too.
No, they're expensive. Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't just, and just so people kind of like understand, there was like stuff called like Windsock, and there were like, connecting to the internet was not just you double click like
No.
your browser icon. There were steps.
Yeah. And you had to have some sort of money to have a computer. Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
And I don't know how my mom did it. My mom was like,
Layaway. We had
If
one. It was
she-
layaway
if
at Radio
she-
Shack.
if she had been it might have been because she was a small business owner. I mean, she was like, she had a plotter before people could make like their own vinyl sign stickers at home. My mom had one of those like really expensive plotters. And my first computer was a VIC 20.
Mine was a
like,
Tandy because of Radio Shack. But I had two sisters. Oh, I still have two sisters. But we always got a together gift for Christmas. And it was layaway from Radio Shack. So it was a Tandy. We always got a together
Yeah.
gift. And that was it.
my first computer game was Zork.
Okay. We're off track. I'm sorry. We got
Yeah,
off track.
sorry.
Big spray went up into the air. But it wasn't a spray from the craft hitting the water. It was a spray from the water coming back in to fill up this hole that had been created. And again, I'm thinking this is incredible. What are we looking at here? And it was metal. It was a machine, and it wasn't glowing or anything like that. It didn't have any lights on it that we could see. But it was obviously metal, and it was obviously a machine. And although I can't tell you that there was anyone inside of it, I believe that there was. And it did something that, as far as I knew, was absolutely impossible. I'd been in the Air Force. I'd worked on the state of the art of our aviation capabilities. And here I was on the deck of a submarine in the conning tower. And I knew what we had to be able to have to go underwater. And I knew that the two were incompatible. Here's something that came from under the water and flew in the air and performed maneuvers, and then came back down and interfaced with the water at tremendous speed and remained intact, which realistically, it never touched the water. The water sort of magically opened up in front of it, but something had to interface with that water. Anything that we had that interfaced with the water in that manner would have been disintegrated. It's like hitting a brick wall. So I was looking at a technology that, as far as our laws of physics and what we knew at that time, didn't exist. This was in 1966. Ensign Ball was as shocked as I was. He called the captain to the bridge, who came up with the chief quartermaster, who brought a camera. And we all stood there and watched this occur over and over again for about 10 minutes. And I still to this day don't know if it was the same craft or a whole bunch of different craft going in and out of the water. But it seemed like that there was a hell of a lot of traffic on that freeway right there. And we were watching it as we went by. We never changed course. We never lowered or increased our speed. We made no attempt to communicate or signal. We made no attempt to get closer. And eventually it just stopped. We were told not to discuss it with anyone, not even amongst ourselves, which was incredible. I never had been told anything like that in my life. You can't talk about something. And to be told that we couldn't even talk about it amongst ourselves was even more extraordinary, I thought. But we didn't talk about it. When we got to Pearl Harbor, all the time the chief quartermaster was taking pictures of this. So I know photographs were made. What happened to those photographs, I have no idea. But when we reached Pearl Harbor, we were not allowed to go ashore to go on liberty, even though we didn't have the duty. And about 2 hours after we berthed at the submarine base, a commander from the Office of Naval Intelligence came on board and debriefed each one of us individually in the captain's stateroom. And the ultimate outcome of the debriefing was that we didn't see anything, we didn't hear anything, and we had to read rules and regulations that told us that if we ever talked about what it was that we didn't see, that we could be imprisoned, we could be fined $10,000, we could lose all pay and allowances due or ever to become due. And I learned at that moment that the United States Navy didn't want anybody to know about what we saw, and that severe consequences could come down around the neck of anybody who did. And that was when I understood fully that, there's a real cover-up. These things do exist, number one, and at least the United States Navy doesn't want anybody to know about it. And there's stiff penalties for anybody who bucks that.
Mm-hmm. Moving forward a few years from 1966, I believe, you gained a special security clearance that revealed to you certain documents, or were revealed to you, or that you saw relating to this very cover-up.
To this and many other things. I was eventually trained.
Jim and Ron Watkins had to have been Bill Cooper fans or have known about this Q clearance thing. They couldn't have just pulled it out of their head, or obviously would know about Department of Energy, because Ron
the Watkins probably didn't start QAnon. They took it over.
Oh, Ferber.
Beans,
That's right. I
Coleman.
always forget about Paul Ferber, just because I'm so angry at the Watkins right now. But Paul Ferber.
Probably Paul Ferber plus. It's thought that there
the
was a
soapbox
few people doing it.
Yeah.
But that's big in the spy thing. There's even the whole series of Archer is just based around
not them, but what I'm talking about is not
no,
Archer.
I don't think they got it. I don't think they got it from Archer, but the fact that there's a Q clearance mentioned in Archer just shows you how ingrained in the spy culture
100%
that is.
But what I'm saying, Patriot Soapbox and Ferber and the people who started Q probably were aware of Cooper and talking about this.
Anyone that's seriously into conspiracy theories has probably read Behold a Pale Horse, and there's a whole bunch of other things derivative from that even if they didn't read Behold a Pale Horse, they could have picked it up from somewhere else, because that spread into the culture. But it's definitely in conspiracy theory land. It's associated with Majestic 12 and
Do you know,
the
I
alien.
was pondering as I was speed reading this, if Jim Stewartson has read it, because Knights of Malta is a big theme of Cooper's, and Jim is obsessed with Knights of Malta and all the conspiracies. Now I need to read that a little bit more thoroughly and how it links to Jim's worldview of Knights of Malta, but I just found that interesting. How
is that like the Merovingian shit?
Cooper doesn't, and again, I sped read it, but I didn't see a lot of.
Cooper did get into some of the Merovingian type shit.
From what I saw, he wasn't talking about the Merovingians a lot at that part. It was just the Knights of Malta generally and the Pope and things like that. But I need to read it again. But it was just interesting.
I'm just going to interject here that assuming that Jim Stewartson actually read a full book, um,
Just another way he's like Alex.
yeah, I don't think that seems likely. I mean, I'm sure he's read a book or two, but like, yeah, no, I
I
don't think
think
so.
it's like,
Probably
I mean,
Wikipedia. You know what? He probably read a Wikipedia about the Knights of Malta.
and it's
No,
also
check Dave Troy's feed. Dave
Uh,
Troy probably mentioned it
ugh.
in some thread.
you know what? You're right. I gave him too much credit for reading a book. My bad. Too much credit.
Yeah. Jim is as good at plagiarizing shit as Bill Cooper.
I gave him too much credit. Reading silly me.
By
Silly
Naval
me.
Security and Intelligence, and I was given a secondary NEC, which is Naval Enlisted Code, which was 9545, which is Internal Security Specialist. And an internal security specialist is someone who um, protects classified information, and protects um, areas, so to speak. Um, and I had a specialty, which I was trained in, which was Pacific Area Intelligence briefings. And I was eventually assigned to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, who was Admiral Bernard Clary at that time,
Stuff.
and served as a member of his intelligence briefing team. And basically all that means, we really had a wonderful job. You come in about 4 o'clock in the morning and you go through all the message traffic and everything. And what you do is what we did was we prepared an updated briefing on everything that was happening in his half of the world, which he commanded the naval forces and marine forces, as a matter of fact. And put all this together in a briefing where we would update him on ongoing operations, brief him about operations that were scheduled to begin, um, um, political situations, deployment of Soviet forces, naval forces, everything. And after the briefing was finished, between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning, then we were done. We were finished. So it was what you call fat cat duty or gedunk duty in the Navy. It's got all different kinds of names. It's just really a wonderful job. Now, to be able to function in this job, I had to have a security clearance, which gave me access to the information that I had to need to know to help prepare these briefings. And when I first was assigned to the command, I was attached to the OPSTAT office under Lieutenant Commander Mercado, which was operational status reporting. And while I waited for my security clearance. And
That's a lie. The only person that he worked on under Navy intelligence was Admiral Clary. So, like right there, he's bullshitting, but CNN is just letting him go. Which shame on CNN because this takes place in 1992. You said Quacks, and he had already put out "Behold a Pale Horse." It has the Protocols of the Elders of Zion in it. And like they just are letting him go. And this is how we get into so much trouble and where we are today. Like they're just not challenging him on anything. It's a failure of our media.
Well, the fact that he put out "Behold a Pale Horse," which was, pretty instantly successful, was indeed why they were interviewing him.
But there's no challenge.
Well,
and we
they
know what
wouldn't.
Henry
They would.
Ford did with the Protocols of Elder Zion. That's
but
what I'm saying.
there wasn't. I mean, I don't think back then, like,
You couldn't just go look
nobody
the stuff up online.
They could
yeah,
read his
and
book.
and nobody knew who the order was unless you were following it in the newspapers or like in the local news, and people.
This is
didn't
lazy
know this
journalism.
stuff.
I'm sorry, we're making excuses for lazy journalism.
I know we are, but it's also it is like, to me, none of this shit is weird because like I was fascinated in like I was like reading the SPLC book about the White Aryan Resistance. Like I would go to the library and read all these books about skinheads and neo-Nazis and stuff like in the 90s. And so I was aware of it, but not the majority of people weren't. Like, there are still people today who don't know what QAnon is.
Yeah. No, and
And-
So I'm not giving them an excuse, but like within a culture, a grander cultural text, like, and this was before Oklahoma City. That was when this shit really came into focus. And then we had Ruby Ridge and Waco,
yeah.
Well, keep in mind too that he very explicitly said that the protocols weren't a
It meant
Jewish
Scion,
conspiracy; that it was an
Merovingian.
Illuminati conspiracy theory. In the same way
It's so
that
maddening. It makes me want to rip my hair out.
in the same way that Ike did, and Ike probably took it from Cooper, most likely.
Yeah.
And Cooper got that from Nesta Webster. But I think of all of the people that might actually believe that, I think Cooper's the most potentially legitimate in actually thinking that it's not the Jews, because he is really pretty vehement about that and against anti-Semitism and
Yeah, and he
against
as I was
Christian
reading, he
identity.
says he's
whereas-
not racist. And his wife was
But
Asian, and he's like, I'm not racist, and I think he really truly believed that.
well, I think it's also the I didn't get to this part in the book, but I remember it, and it will be forever seared into my memory. There was a prior to Oklahoma City, Bill Cooper met Tim McVeigh at a bar. They ran into each other. Tim was telling him what a fan he was, and then he got into the back of a pickup truck, and as they drove off, Cooper remembers seeing all these copies of the Turner Diaries just in the back of the truck. And then they're driving up, and Tim McVeigh yells from the back of the truck, "Keep your eye on Oklahoma." And then later on, when Oklahoma City happened, Knowledge Fight did do coverage. They covered Bill Cooper's coverage of Oklahoma City. Cooper was the first one to scream that it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, McVeigh ordered his Waco cassette series tape. That was a report I came across today. I can't hear you, Steph.
No. I know. No, I was keeping it into myself because I was just muttering, "Oh God, no."
Yeah, I came across that in an article I read
And
today.
and see, but and that is that fact solidifies my point when I tell you, Morpheus meme. What if I told you conspiracy theories were a conspiracy to distract you? Tim McVeigh acknowledged what Bill Cooper was doing for him. He was covering for him. These conspiracy theories offered coverage for an act of domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
Well, it did help inspire it.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Quack.
Yep.
McVeigh was definitely listening to Cooper, and he was interested in this idea of the secret government and all that. But if you listen to Cooper, he really made fun of Christian identity. He was very, very much, and that's I believe that's actually in the episode that we're going to listen to.
Yeah, this is
If I'm
Art
not
Babbling. I
mistaken.
thought he was getting pretty boring, so like we listened to enough to give people an idea, and I think we've talked enough about to give them a basis of what Cooper believed in, so that we could move on to like what he sounded like on his radio show. Otherwise, everybody's going to fall asleep listening to him because him being interviewed is so boring. But I think we gave an idea and a basis background on the bullshit that he spewed, so that we can move on to what his show sounded like.
Yeah, and I think when he tries to make himself sound sane, that's when, like, it's just like Alex Jones when he tries to pretend to be normal in public and shit like that, and he puts on that face and stuff like that. I think that's part of it to some extent.
Why?
And also, I just
boring?
want to say I didn't get to listen to these, so I'm going in cold. So
your reactions are going to be priceless.
Okay,
because
I'm looking forward to this.
because he rips into your favorite Art Bell.
I'm
Yeah, and
looking
you know
forward to
what?
this
I'm
because I
okay with
listened to the
that.
wrong one.
I'm okay. I'm okay with, because as much as I like Art Bell, I also know that, if I'm hugging him, I'm hugging a piece of shit. So
Yeah, there's a little bit of backstory for those that are listening. In that, Steph had said, "Oh, find an episode," and I found an episode, and it was the Hoaxland one, and I listened to that, and I was like, "Oh, this could be good," and then immediately after listening to it, I found this other one, and I was like, "Oh, we should do this one first." And Shelby didn't quite catch that I said, we should, that this one would be better to do first, and didn't listen to it. And
Uh-uh.
I'm the only one that's heard this apparently now.
You
and
are. I was listening to a wrong one. I listened to Hoaxland, so this is going to be totally new for me.
and I wanted to, because I know that him and Art, I do know that they did have like a squabble. I wanted to kind of lay something out. I just did a. I remember reading that Cooper's broadcast ran on a Nashville station. And I remember from some of the research I'd been doing on Gunderson that Gunderson had some broadcasts out of the Nashville station. Well, I did a search for Cooper and the Nashville station, and I got the link for that same article I'd gotten about Gunderson. And just to put a little background into that, Ted Gunderson was really big in the McMartin stuff, and he helped preface some of the early 1980s QAnon shit. Former FBI, but he also started a rumor that Art Bell's son, who had been raped by a teacher and given AIDS by that teacher,
Oh,
that
God.
Art Bell was the one who had committed that crime. And this accounted for a chunk of time that Art took off the radio show. So if Cooper was affiliated with this radio station that Gunderson was, that explains some of this. And it also depends what year that this was. I think the Gunderson stuff was in like 91 or 92.
Gross. All right. This is going to be, I'm very excited because I listened to the Hoaxland one. So this is going to be all new for me. So I'm excited. I'm going in fresh too. Can you guys hear? Volume good? Okay.
That's some soothing late night radio.
You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. The man President Clinton named in a White House memo as the most dangerous radio host in America. And by golly, he's right. Because I'm just about the only one that tells the truth, documents it, sources it, and puts it out there where you can find out about it, where you can go check it for yourself, dig up the documentation and find out that it's true. You don't hear a rumor on the Hour of the Time. You don't hear lies, ladies and gentlemen. And there's nobody here sitting on half their brain talking about trivial things that don't mean diddly squat to anybody except for entertainment. Tonight, we're going to have open phones. We're going to talk about a lot of things. What I want to talk about is what's the latest baloney going around in your neighborhood? Because there's an awful lot of it out there. We're going to clear up some myths, some lies, some deceptions. I'm going to tell you the truth about those things. Even right here in this town, I hear people passing these things around. It is amazing. It's as if Americans have lost their ability to reason, the last vestige of common sense. I don't know too many people. I do know some, but I do not know too many people who have had an original thought in years. Don't go away. I'll be right back. And for those of you who might want to call in, the number is 520-333-4578. That's the same number for my office, and it's the same number for my fax. 520-333-4578.
He loves dramatic music.
I love it.
Ooh, it's For Whom the Bell Tolls.
I'm going to take this opportunity during this dramatic music to use the restroom.
Me too.
These are perilous times that we live in, ladies and gentlemen, when a political entity can murder a church full of people in Waco, Texas, using tanks, armored personnel carriers, psychological warfare units, helicopters, machine
Psychological
guns,
warfare units.
CS gas.
Well, that's true.
Just
They
to
they
name
blare
a few.
music.
Oh, yeah, I
before that.
remember
When they
that.
can murder a woman standing in her doorway, when a sniper can shoot her in the head while she is standing in the doorway, holding her
Ruby
baby to her
Ridge.
breast.
Yeah.
Not wanted for anything, never committed any crime. Can you imagine? Where doors are broken down, people are rousted out of bed in the middle of the night with no search warrant. Their homes are torn to pieces. Come to find out it was the wrong house. No apology. No money to repair the damage that they did. Nazi jackbooted thugs stomp puppies and kittens to death in front of their owners.
The ATF is like a box of
These are not
chocolates. They'll kill your
exaggerations.
dog.
Right.
But amongst the truths, there are also a spate of rumors, disinformation, lies, if you will, designed to be thrown out so that whoever picks them up and carries them will be discredited.
The dog's name was Stryker.
That's a fact. Just recently, on a shortwave radio broadcast, it was announced that in the state of Michigan, the New World Order troops were going door to door confiscating
Shit, I was
weapons
right.
from the citizens. It was a lie. It was a lie. There's a woman who recently wrote a book called Transformation of America. I would venture to say that about
Kathy
500
O'Brien.
fools spent good money for it. She claims she was the sex slave in the White House of every president since Nixon.
Does that sound familiar to anybody?
I don't know who
I
that is.
just absolutely croak
it was a
over some
blueprint
of these
for
things.
QAnon.
They are hilarious.
Oh,
Kathy O'Brien and Arizona Wilder were two women who came forward with allegations alleging the continuation of MK Ultra. This continuation was called Project Monarch, and this is one of the reasons
oh,
why the monarch butterfly gets wrapped up into some of this conspiracy stuff. You remember the monarch butterfly refuge and stuff like that? Monarch is seen as a symbol of child trafficking.
okay.
And this goes back to it was called the Trans Formation of America was Wilder's book, and I believe it was a similar situation to Michelle Remembers. Quacks, do you know? It was like hypnosis shit, and she ended up marrying the person who did the hypnosis.
He
I
might
don't
have
know if
stepped away
Quacks
to
is
go to the
there.
restroom or something.
Yeah, but yeah, and then Arizona
Oh no,
Wilder
I
came
forgot
up.
to turn my mic back on.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, you're kind of low there on volume, Steph. But
Is
yeah, I
that
don't know
better?
too much about Kathy O'Brien. That's why I figured I'd leave that to you.
yeah. I don't. I vaguely remember, but I don't know a lot about Kathy either.
Is this better?
Not quite.
I don't know what's going on.
I can hear you, but you're low.
Is that better?
Nope.
I don't know what happened. You were good before.
Okay, is this better?
Same.
Nope. Yeah,
Okay,
hasn't
well,
changed.
it's up 100%.
Well, we can hear you, but it's just you're not great. But yeah, I don't know too much about Kathy O'Brien.
All right, I don't know.
Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah, there you are.
Okay, I think it was the cable or something. Um, but but I believe that Kathy O'Brien was linked to Springmeier. I think, but her and Arizona Wilder also did eventually hook up with David Icke too. So yeah, there's a whole wacky this and what we're looking at here with Kathy O'Brien and Kathy O'Brien probably, I haven't looked into it, but she probably had interactions with Gunderson, and because of the whole Johnny Gosh thing, and the whole Johnny Gosh case was QAnon for 1982.
Huh. I'll have to look into that some more.
There was a film recently of a supposed autopsy of an alien body. One doctor I showed it to, a specialist in childhood diseases, was almost struck dumb as he recognized the body of a shaved hydroencephalic female child. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen?
His
Then people
smug
point to the
chuckle.
6 fingers and 6 toes as if that's unusual. It's not at all. Children born with one genetic defect are very likely to have several more. And 6 fingers and 6 toes are not unusual. In fact, it's fairly common. Most are removed at or shortly after birth, so as not to cause any social difficulties for the child during the growing up stages. There are things going on and talk being spread that defies any kind of intelligent examination, logic, or as my grandmother used to say, it just won't pass the common sense test. Most of it you can hear on a nationally syndicated radio broadcast that lasts almost all night called The Art Bell Show.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
If you stay up all night and listen to The Art Bell Show, you'll hear more bullshit, lies,
Oh my God.
disinformation, rumor, and silly woo-woo la-la land stuff than you will anywhere else in the world. It has become obvious that Art Bell is a shill for the New World Order.
A shill for the New World Order.
Keep you
Oh.
spinning your wheels, chasing myths, spinning around in eddies, these little whirlpools by the side of the stream while the world passes you by.
This is the point where I was like, we need to do this one.
I'd like to
This is
get some
great.
calls and hear what you've heard recently that fits into this category, or if you've heard something recently that you're not sure of, call in and we'll talk about it. Maybe we can get to the root of it and find out what's true and what's not. I think it's important that we do these things to prevent people from falling into these traps. Whoever picks these things up and echoes them is soon discredited. Entire movements have been destroyed by this method. Good evening. You're on the air.
Lincoln.
Could you say that again? We missed
You're
it.
from Wyoming?
And what's your name?
Gary Fields.
Oh, you don't have to say your last name, Gary, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, up here in Wyoming, I just got my satellite going and listening to you on it tonight. And you hear these reports about troops up in Canada, down in Mexico. What do you know about, is that mostly BS or is there some truth to it?
No, it's 100% BS.
This is exact QAnon bullshit. Chinese and North Korean troops massed at the Canadian border, ready to invade the United States. I mean, where have we heard that again?
That's so fascinating.
And Red
to hear
Dawn.
that. Like, what year was this? This is 1990.
6.
Oh my gosh.
That's after Red Dawn came out.
But I mean, they just
Well,
recycle it.
Well, Red Dawn, they came down. Well, they came from the Soviet Union and up from Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is specifically the idea of troops massed at the Canadian border secretly.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that came up again right after Trump lost the election.
It did.
And I put a note in the chat. The radio station that Hour of the Time debuted on was WWCR. That was the station. That was the station that Art Bell sued. And that was the station that was linked to Ted Gunderson. And
big old guy.
No, the McMartin Underground Tunnel.
Oh, okay.
Former FBI Johnny Gosh guy. He well, what's interesting here is we need a crazy wall, because if Hour of the Time is on the same station as Ted Gunderson, we and this radio station was apparently very famous for becoming a hotbed of extremism at the time. And that was the one article I linked through the Reddit link. And so what you have here is this early version of QAnon that is stewing in.
Well, keep in mind though that there's a caller in talking about the troops massed on the Canadian border, but
right,
Cooper tells him that's bullshit.
Yeah,
and
but he was
and
still...
I particularly wanted to get to this when
Okay.
you had asked how Cooper would have reacted to QAnon, and right here you get a little peek of how he would have reacted to a lot of the QAnon conspiracy theories, which
That's a
was
good
to
point.
say that they were bullshit.
Because right there, you can see he's like, no, that's bullshit.
But it's
And
so
he says that a lot.
but it's so strange because the map of what QAnon was laid out, but that's why it's just so
Well,
weird. It's, and Ike too.
the the map that was drawn out by the Q drops is very heavily reliant on Cooper, but a lot of this other stuff that's QAnon culture is stuff that Cooper would have just said was bullshit.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Okay, I
the
gotcha.
fringe conspiracism that surrounded, the greater QAnon world, Cooper really would have said, just like he said there, if there was that many troops massed at the Canadian border, somebody would be, somebody would know. Like you could
Right,
call
and
and you could find out.
yeah. Well, he did have his like investigation squad, the Kaji, and for him saying that holds an extra weight because he did have a bunch of people out there scattered across the country that did go out and investigate things like in real life.
All right. I think we could start again.
Yes, it's not true at all. There is no army of North Koreans or communist Chinese or Russians or any of those
He shut that shit
massed
down.
along the border of Canada or Mexico waiting to invade the United States.
Okay. Because on some of the other satellite feeds, I've heard these rumors and things like that, and to me, it seems like it's designed to incite people to get upset, rise up, start hollering and things, and
make you look like an idiot.
make you look like an idiot.
To discredit you, to discredit your movement, to discredit what you believe in, to discredit the militias.
Now, you said on your broadcast tonight you will cover some of the things that would be true then, that are going on out there, or
No, I didn't say that. I said I want to talk about the things that are not true.
that are not true. Okay.
So that we can dispel these rumors and get them out of the way. You'll notice that all these people who say these things never offer any proof, never offer any documentation, never can prove what they say. It's just blather, so much blather. One of the biggest proponents of this kind of crap is Mark Kornke and his so-called intelligence report.
Yeah. When you listen to these things, I've got a friend who has to remain unnamed, or I heard, very few people seem to have any documentary evidence, a video that, they can show you actual troops out there massed on the border. That stuff's non-existent.
That's right. It's non-existent because there are no troops massed upon the border. If there were, don't you think the Canadians would be raising hell? What about the Mexicans?
True.
Don't you think they'd be talking about it as they came across the border? It's not happening. It's not true. It's not there. It's just simply a lie, another lie.
No.
And there's lots of them out there. Lots of lies. And lots of people. You see, the problem that people have is they listen to this from somebody, and they think that somebody is trying to do them a favor, and so they believe it without checking. You can't believe anything without checking nowadays. In most instances, a simple phone call can clear up most of these things. If not, about an hour in the library might be able to do it. And the things like troops massed along the border, then, you talk to somebody from Canada who lives there. If there were troops massed along their borders, they would be jabbering about it a mile a minute.
Yeah.
It just is not happening.
You are so right, Quacks. That is fascinating to hear him. I honestly think he would have shut down so much of QAnon. I really do. I'm glad you picked this episode.
Yeah, keep in mind he died right after 9/11. They actually were planning on raiding him on 9/11 of
They were going to
2001.
take him down, and they couldn't take him down. So you know what they did, man? They took down the towers.
Well, the towers coming down apparently messed up a lot of their plans to do anything that day.
Why? What? Why? How could that?
So if you think about that, when he was taken off the scene right after that happened,
Hmm.
and all of these other conspiracy theorists that really came into the forefront after 9/11
Yeah.
didn't, Cooper wasn't there to
Just like,
be like, look, this is bullshit.
yeah. They
Um,
filled the void with garbage. Not that Cooper was any better, but he kind of shut down a lot of saying, look, check,
I mean, you don't have to hand it to Cooper, but he really did just put down a lot of the BS.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear this, and listen to that. Fascinating. Fascinating. I wonder how QAnon would have been a little different with Cooper had he not gone out and done the crazy shit he did when they tried
And
to
I
serve him.
think his death was probably the most important part of his life, because that is the best way for a conspiracy theorist to go out. When you sit there and you say, if something happens to me, just like the octopus case, that's what Danny, what's his name, was saying right before he killed himself. And then a conspiracy theory arose from it. So when you predict your own death like this, you're about to be right, because everybody dies. But Cooper actually accelerated his own death. So that's how he knew they were after him.
Yeah, pay your taxes.
Yes. Ugh.
Except for this year.
Newsletter from one group, and in there, I kept hearing this rumor about Georgia has chosen an alternate method of capital punishment, beheading by guillotine. So I did get on the phone, and in this article they mentioned a Georgia representative that was supposed to have introduced the bill.
Uh-huh.
So I went to my local library, got a book out that gave each state with the names of its representatives and phone numbers, and I called the Capitol building in Atlanta, and he wasn't in, and I talked to the lady, and I said, I'm calling to ask about this rumor about capital punishment by beheading. And the reaction I got from that lady, she said, no way. She said, if it was, really true, people would be really upset down here about it.
Yeah. Well, here's what's happening in a nutshell. They want their new world order. They want their one world totalitarian socialist government. They can't get it when there are people in this world who are dedicated to principles and ideals which oppose that. And when those people are armed, so they have to do things to make these people discredit themselves so that the vast numbers of people out there will stop listening to them.
Yeah.
Will think they're just a bunch of loony bin, crazy, wacko, idiot gun nuts that are going to open fire and kill everybody at any minute. And by golly, that's the way some of these people sound.
Well, that's some of the reactions that they're getting from the media. A bunch of wackos out there.
Well, doesn't that sound wacko to you?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you listen to some of these people, and you have to understand the Hegelian dialectic and the way that things have been done in the past or the way they're going to be done in the future. If you study the methods that the intelligence organizations and military and political movements move into a country and take over that country, you will begin to understand what is happening here. But not until.
I've sat and often wondered, you hear everything out there, but then I think about that, The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Uh-huh.
When you seem to be the weakest, you're your strongest.
Yes.
And, a lot of the other principles that are in there. And sometimes I feel like just stepping back from everything and taking a look at it and saying, okay, now let's look at this, let's look at that. What's really going on, Now, for 3 months, since August when you shut down your shortwave broadcast, I've been in the dark in a sense until I got my satellite put up. And, some of the stuff I'm hearing on there, I have to admit, some of it you wonder about, is this really true? Is this what's going on?
Just usually just a very cursory investigation will tell you the answer to that.
Yeah.
Most of it won't pass the common sense test. And as my grandmother said, if it won't pass the common sense test, it won't pass any test. Period.
One other thing I'd like to ask about before I get off so someone else can get on, this omnibus,
Counterterrorism bill?
I'm sorry,
The omnibus counterterrorism bill, or are you talking about the crime bill?
the crime bill for 1997.
Okay.
There's so much talk on the radio about it right now. Has the bill passed, or is it just something in the future yet?
To my knowledge, it hasn't passed.
Okay.
But to find out, all you have to do is call your congressman, and you can call them and ask them for a full text of the bill.
Yeah. Well, I usually do that. I'm going to have to start doing it again. Like I said, I've been out of touch with everything for 3 months. The shortwave, you can't pick up too much good stuff on there now. So, well, Bill, I'll hop off. Thanks for answering some of my questions.
You're welcome, and thank you for calling.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Folks, if you hear a little sniffling or something, we're all got colds around here. And I'm trying not to cough or sniffle over the radio, but occasionally I might slip and do that, and I apologize.
He really lets
in
the
advance.
calls go longer
Good
than
evening, you're on the
Art Bell does.
Hi, how you doing, Bill? This is Tom from California.
Good. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, you're talking about things that are total BS, and
Yeah, what are you hearing around there?
what am I hearing? How about this next Mars space mission?
What about it?
I heard there a few years ago, they said they launched a satellite to Mars, and it was going to take 10 years to get there. Now, all of a sudden, we launched one this month, and it's going to take 8 months to get there.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, they're claiming it's 330 million miles away. So if
Someone
somebody else
doesn't
has to do the
understand orbits.
calculations, 8 months into 330 million
No,
miles,
they don't.
I wonder how fast this thing has to be traveling.
Well, it's got to be traveling faster than anything I know can go.
Yeah, that, and also this finding ice on the moon. One of the key elements of water is oxygen.
Yeah.
There is no oxygen on the moon.
Well, that's what they tell you. However, if you examine real photographs of the moon, it turns out not to be true. The moon does have a very small atmosphere, and if it has a small atmosphere, it may have water.
Do you really believe there is a possibility then?
Yeah, there's a possibility. It certainly is.
Great. Well, I wonder what they're planning on doing with it.
I don't know.
Steph, that's
Well, I just
Richard
wanted to bring up that
Hoagland.
Mars mission because I find that just a total
Well,
crock of balls.
Oh, they're building you
at
up
one
to tell you
time,
there used to be.
Cooper believed that like Mars had already been colonized. So, if he's going to be making fun of Richard Hoagland, then maybe he should,
This is true. Oh, they're also, oh my gosh, I can't. I honestly can't. Like, I was reading, when I was reading the stuff that Cooper originally put in, Behold a Pale Horse, and like the stuff he originally believed in, like Kennedy and the space stuff and everything that he
oh,
originally
the
believed in. I was like, this man like really just believed and baked and cooked and pulled everything. And now he's like, oh my gosh, do your own research. And he's like such a snob about everything. I'm like, come
well
on,
that
man.
he was one of like the earliest people to kind of like really push that narrative where he had said like in his book, and he'd said many times like, don't believe what you see, don't believe what you read, don't believe anything you hear from me, don't believe anything you hear from Larry King, don't believe anything until you can confirm it with your own research. But here's the problem: if you hear something from him and you like what he's saying, if you hear him say Tim McVeigh didn't do Oklahoma City, and you like that and it aligns with your beliefs, do you think you're going to Google, do you think you're going to be researching or looking up information that is, really like honestly objective? No, you're not.
No,
You're
because
going
I
to be
listened to his
looking.
Oklahoma City Part 1, and he makes you believe so wholeheartedly in his Part 1 research. We've done the research. We've done interviews. We have like whatever he says it is, 600 pages or whatever. You can buy it. Trust us. This lady was on the, and she has to take a break, and it was so stressful, and yeah.
Well, he had definitely long rejected the whole life on Mars and all of that after, or by 96. And
When he got chased out of the community.
yeah,
So he couldn't do that anymore.
And he also he had by about this time already procured quite a legend for violence, and not just with his family. John Lear says that in a state of drunkenness, Cooper pulled a gun on him at least 3 or 4 times.
Whew.
he threatened all sorts of people. He threatened everyone.
He left
Jeez.
voicemails on answering
He
machines.
slashed tires.
Oh my gosh.
He pushed his one wife and their toddler out of the car with his foot, with his fake leg. He pushed them out.
God. Was
And
he a sob sit?
Yes.
yeah, and
I
you could
figured he was.
You could see that also in the FBI file. In that article, they include it. Every time the word United States of America is in there, the U in United is down, and the S and the A are up, and then he has other words that are all capitalized.
Jesus. I knew he was violent, but I didn't realize the degree of the violence. Like, wow.
Oh yeah, every single one of his ex-wives, and even the FBI doesn't know how many times he was married.
Yeah, I saw that.
Every single one of his ex-wives that Mark Jacobson interviewed for the book recounted being warned by their family ahead of time, and just psychological, mental, emotional abuse, alcoholism, just horrific.
Wow.
He also seems to have lied about their separations.
Yeah, I came across, I
cases.
was listening to something and he was telling a story, and I can't remember because I listened to so much stuff, brief pieces and some full things, where he said that he had to send his wife and child overseas because the government was coming after them. And I'm not sure which wife or child, but now that you guys are speaking of the violence, it sounds like they probably fled him.
Yeah, I think that story's complete bullshit.
It sounded like it to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, like and I mean there was a dude was getting, they know conclusively there were at least 12 marriages, at least.
Wow.
And
So he's a bigamist? Is that the
I
word
mean,
bigamist when you're married more than once?
well, no, I mean he might have been married to more than two people at the same time, but I mean, like, he put Elizabeth Taylor to shame, you know. But this is, this is indicative of a pattern. Art Bell was also married a bunch of times.
Yeah, I knew that about Art.
I don't know if he was necessarily an abusive person, but I kind of get some hints that he might have been. You just see this, like, some of these common traits come out, and it's like, even Art
Alex
Bell,
Jones is going through a divorce, I heard again, from Knowledge Fight. Like,
Yeah.
divorce has been filed.
Alex has more abortions than he has divorces at this point, but this presents you with a pattern of instability, and whether these people truly believe in the things that they're hyping, the environment in which this stuff grows and flourishes is a dark sewer. And even if they don't believe in these things, that shit will affect your life. And they're obviously dark people in the first place to hype these ideas, whether they believe them or not. So it just their lives, just these three different radio hosts, you look at them, and Rush Limbaugh was supposed to be
Yeah.
a shitty, abusive person too. There's something here.
I think it's pretty straightforward in some respects that somebody who's going to be a media personality pushing conspiracism, which all of these people that we're talking about fit into, that's a field that's going to be highly filled with narcissists.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to become
Yeah.
a radio presenter talking about wild conspiracism, and even Rush Limbaugh will throw in there because he was a wild conspiracist.
Yeah.
That's generally going to be a narcissistic personality, and those are the people who are not going to
Yeah, I mean, you don't
well.
sound
No, not at all.
you don't sound as smooth as George Norrie without some lubricant and grease. So, yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
Civilization on Mars, and it came here or it went somewhere else or something. And there's living, thinking things out in space, and they're far superior to us in technology and intelligence. That represents a danger. So all humanity must come together as one to oppose this threat, and you must be willing to sacrifice, like they did in World War I and II, in order to prepare to do battle with these things from space.
There's your blue beam.
You can hear Art Bell right now scaring the hell out of everybody. There's a giant spherical thing accompanying the Hale-Bopp comet, and it's bigger than the Earth, and it's
Hale-Bopp.
hollow, and there's signals coming from it.
Oh,
Yeah, this is right before Heaven's Gate.
I was just going to say, and there is evidence that Art Bell is the reason that Heaven's Gate happened, because they picked that up from Art Bell's show.
Yep, from his
100.
from his broadcast, the guy that was on that day. So,
Yes.
There you go, folks. Art Bell.
So
old,
if
Uhura's brother.
If Marshall Applewhite had listened to Bill Cooper instead of Art Bell, the Heaven's Gate suicides never would have happened.
Exactly. That is so interesting to hear these contrasting things, because all three of us here know that about Art Bell's broadcast. And wow, what a difference here hearing Bill Cooper say, no, that's bullshit, but we know how Art Bell pushed and allowed that to happen on his show. Wow.
He really lays into this a few times in this episode. Like,
you picked a good one, Quacks. This is good. This is good.
Yeah, I'm glad that I confirmed that we would do this one with you earlier today.
I'm glad you did too, because I was like, oh, I thought you guys were really into Hoaxland. I was like, no, Hoaxland, like that's what. And then you're like, oh, darn, I really wanted 11. I was like, I'm flexible. Yeah, totally. We can do 11.
I've been to wonder about the whole space program. I seriously think that there's probably a lot of people working, making what they believe is machinery that's going to be sent into outer space.
And then it never goes anywhere.
No, the company's actually owned by the government, and money's funneled into some black budget operation.
Hey, you're right on the money, my friend. The Apollo space program was the biggest fraud in the history of the world, besides this UFO thing. And they may have gone to the moon, but they sure didn't do it with the Apollo spacecraft or those suits that they were wearing, or any of that other stuff.
Almost definitely. And I noticed something on the news just the other day when they were showing a flick up in space, and they were saying that the astronauts were having a hard time opening the space hatch. Well, the pre-hatch opened, and when it fell, I noticed it ripple and wrinkle like it was made out of plastic. I just wonder which Disney studio they're filming that in.
I don't know.
Okay, Bill, have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Very astute and observant young man there. 520-333-4578 is the number. What kind of BS baloney crap is going around in your neighborhood? What have you heard lately that you'd like to
He let callers go for longer because he didn't have as many callers.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, he really lets them go. And sometimes it's really annoying to me. It's funny because Art Bell is always like, turn your radio off, turn your radio off. Cooper does not do that. And sometimes their radio is like in the background and it makes so much noise.
And clear up. Maybe we can answer some of these things for you. Bigger than the Earth. Emitting signals. It's hollow. How do they know it's hollow? Does somebody go up there and rap on it? Remember when you were a kid, you used to open your mouth real wide and hit yourself on top of the head and made a hollow sound?
Is he talking about the hollow moon now too?
No, he's talking about the thing that's supposed to be behind Hale-Bopp comet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I turned for a second. I was putting on my biofreeze on my neck and shoulders, and I was like, I missed what he said. Okay, he was talking about that thing behind Hale-Bopp. Okay.
Oh, this is killing me. Good evening, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Bill.
Hi.
Went to a law meeting last Sunday.
What do you mean by law meeting?
Well, it's where a group of people get together and they discuss what problems they're having and
Okay.
solutions to take.
Uh-huh.
And had this Jim Kellogg get up, and he was selling this $100 book that I don't know if he wrote it himself or he was advertising it for someone. And he gave this big, fantastic story about how Noah's Ark had crashed into Wisconsin, or had settled in Wisconsin, and how he could trace the white heritage all the way back through.
One of these British Israelists, a white race, a superior, God's chosen people, the rest of you ain't.
Yeah.
I can't say it, but I want to say it. I want to say it bad. Rest of you ain't crap, you know.
Yeah. And that's, he didn't come right out and say it, but you could tell this is the route he was taking. He was saying how they had found the Viking, I guess it was anchors, the round wheels with a hole through it.
Uh-huh.
How they had found this everywhere, and how the Indian mounds are really Viking graveyards. And I tell you what, it was a hell of a story he was telling. And me and a buddy of mine, we know what is going on, and we're just looking around to see who is buying them.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people do, but it's insecure people. You see, if you're secure within yourself and you're a good person, you don't need to feel superior to anybody. So you don't have to invent these stories of how you're the superior race and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's only people who have something lacking.
I just want to point something out.
They feel
People who are lacking and have a hole and feel insecure and they have to put other people down, says the man who called everybody sheeple.
Yes, I did come across him calling people sheeple.
So I appreciate that he's, pushing back against racism, but he's doing it from a disingenuous standpoint because he's not being true to that like internal morality, that if he's against that kind of racism on that fact that you can't put yourself ahead of others, then he can't be saying that people who don't believe him are sheeple.
Bill. Or should we call him Milton? Isn't that his first name?
Or we can call him Shill Cooper.
Or we could call him Little Jackie. I think that was his nickname when he was a kid. He has various names. Oh.
When you say that, I picture him wearing a little sailor outfit holding a giant lollipop.
So they have to make these things up or join these movements that somebody else made up in order to make themselves feel good, in order to become God or whatever, rule the world or whatever it is that they think they're going to do. Yeah. As long as I'm around, as long as I got a gun, ain't none of them going to do it. None of them are going to do it.
Yeah, same here. But it was pretty funny. We were just sitting there listening to him and writing down. He said that they use some kind of Geiger counter or something to pick up on the radioactive parts. And
the Ark, Noah had a nuclear reactor.
Yeah, but I can't figure out. What radioactive particle were you talking about?
Or was he carrying an atomic camel in there?
Yeah, must have. Then he went on and talked about how the Vikings had made this white buffalo and how some of it was
Vikings made a white buffalo?
Yeah, made a white buffalo up in Wisconsin. It was kind of like a bended rock. And walking around with this picture trying to get people to see it in the picture. It just looked like a rock. It looked like no buffalo.
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Real life makes fiction look like nothing. I don't know why anybody reads fiction when real life is so interesting.
Oh, really?
I agree with him on that one.
Sometimes it's like they've got the same
Taj gets so pissed off about that Viking stuff because he's a historian. And when he hears that, he's like, I swear to God, if somebody says Vikings one more time, or they did this, that, or the other, I'm going to lose my ever loving mind. Like, he really cannot stand it.
Hey, didn't you know that Vikings like created our modern legal system?
I'll tell Taj.
What he's talking about, the whole like ancient American movement. Like, I used to read ancient American, and at the time I had no idea that it was basically Nazi propaganda.
I didn't either.
But Cooper knew.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like, and there's like so much stuff that I used to look into and read, and now I'm like, as I've learned more, I'm like, fuck, I used to really read some awful
I'm
shit and not
like,
know it.
yeah, and I'm like, I used to read all those Time Life books and like the Reader's Digest compendium of weird shit and stuff like that. And they would be like, were the Nazca lines drawn by these simple dark skinned people? No, they had to be by UFOs. And I'm like, yeah, how could, and it escaped my mind, the color of their skin, but it was like, yeah, it a lot of people that propagate that stuff, I don't think they even realize that there is a racial element to it. Like, there
Like,
is.
those
There
cultures couldn't
is.
possibly create something so amazing.
Well,
Yeah,
the
well,
the guys that did ancient American definitely knew there was a racial component to it because they were Nazis.
right. But
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the people that, like people like me, that would, this stuff
People
would
reading
trickle
it didn't
down.
get it.
Yeah.
People locked up in the Looney Tunes are running around.
Well, it's surprising. This guy was supposed to be a university professor and was out of the University of Wisconsin and all his credibility and stuff. And I just figured he was an agent of misinformation.
Yeah, I'm in the process of writing a book. I think that I'll call it Waltzing Through La La Land.
That'd be a pretty good title. Huh?
I've got to tell you, when you do a radio broadcast and when you write books and when you travel and speak and all of these kinds of things, you run into the strangest, weirdest people, and sometimes they come knocking on your door at 2:00 in the morning.
Can you rewind
It
about
is,
the Wisconsin
well,
professor?
wait and read the book.
University professor and was out of the University of Wisconsin and all his credibility and stuff. And I just figured he was an agent of misinformation.
Yeah, I'm in the process of writing a book. I think that I'll call it Waltzing Through La La Land.
That'd be a pretty good title. Huh?
I've got to tell you, when you do a radio broadcast and when you write books and when you travel and speak and all of these kinds of things, you run into the
I don't think you
strangest,
said a name,
weirdest
Steph.
people, and sometimes they come knocking on your door at 2:00 in the morning.
It was a while back.
Well, wait and read the
Oh.
book if I get to live to
You'll
write.
never find it.
If I get to live to publish
No.
it, I should say. I've been writing it for a long time. Good portion of it is about the
You can
the
check
wackos and the ufology movement.
Fudgy has this stuff in his archives. So
I got it wrong. He was Minnesota.
Oh,
and
okay.
It was the lawsuits that took place in Wisconsin. I'm sorry.
Steph's trying to connect the dots.
I am.
It's like you said. He came to that meeting, which is supposed to be about law, not about this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he spews out all this BS. And some people are gullible enough to believe it, walk out and repeat it.
Sure.
But when you repeat it, you've just made yourself a nut.
That's right.
People are going to look at you and say, well, what are you talking about? The ark is supposed to be in Turkey,
Yeah.
on the side of a mountain. Or what are you talking about? It's in Iowa or in Wisconsin.
Uh-huh. Well, you know what? Maybe they are nuts. Maybe they are. Maybe we're just plagued with a lot of nuts.
Probably. Probably.
Okay, well, thank you for calling.
Betcha.
And you see, folks, you thought this show wasn't going to go anywhere. I bet you did. Well, whenever you talk about these kinds of things, I mean, it just goes right off the cliff. Always does, because there are some crazy people out there and some crazy things being passed around. Yeah, we did an experiment once. We collected all the documents that we could collect from places like the Patriot Facts Network and the things that are sent around by these different Patriot groups and stuff, and we put them all in a big pile and sat down and got on the telephone and started one by one checking them out to see which ones were true and which ones were false. I got to tell you, folks, over 95% of every single one of them were frauds, fakes, BS, crap, lies.
His head would have exploded with QAnon. I don't think Bill Cooper would have been able to handle Q and this movement. I honestly don't.
He would have been a very, very angry guy.
I think so too. Listening to this, I think he would have been incredibly angry. And I think he would have been railing against Alex Jones. I think he would be losing his mind. I think he would be incredibly angry.
Well,
Just furious.
He did rail against Alex Jones, and
Which we're gonna listen to.
We'll get to that after this. Yeah.
And I wanted to let you know that when he mentioned the Patriot Facts Network, I just quick looked that up and I found an article that I posted, and then I found an archive of documents from that Patriot Facts Network.
I'll have to take a look at that.
And
Oh,
and that's
man.
probably something that we would find, probably like Spencer or Molly Conger, like they probably have something about that in some of their work.
Yeah, I'm still reading Spencer Sunshine's book. I ordered it a while ago. Just haven't had time to finish it. I'm working in between that and the Stanford Prison Experiment book.
And I guess it's maybe always going to be that way.
Here we go.
Interesting to note that Cooper here
Wait,
is
wait.
using.
Pause it
Oh,
if you're going to
sorry.
talk, because this is good.
I was just going to say it's interesting to note that in this right here, Cooper is using the triumphant music, whereas Alex is always using the Imperial March.
That is true. He does. I am ready for this. Like, this is all surprises to me, and I am loving this episode you picked.
Me too.
It's accompanying Hail Bop, and it's bigger than the earth. It's hollow, and it's emitting intelligent signals. And Art Bell knows all about it. And major astronomers have seen it and reported it. It's coming to attack the earth, and it's full of lizard people.
Was that a slam at David Icke or Art Bell?
The whole scene, but possibly Ike. Because by 96, well, actually, 96, it would have been really before Ike came out with the stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but some of it, I mean, Ike stole it from others, and it originally came from the Conan stuff. And Cooper was a reader of Fate, so he had some familiarity with the Shaver stuff.
Yeah, but the reptilians were in with the whole Pleiadians,
yeah, stuff,
scene mostly. So, like, back then, that would have been like Barbara Marciniak and writers like that.
Oh, Bill Cooper. Oh man, he is just taking punches.
Can you do like a UFO lecture for us one night?
Maybe.
Oh God, yes.
The Hour of the Time, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by the Intergalactic Money Exchange. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong commercial. The Hour of the Time is brought to you by Swiss America Trading. Yes, they've got their feet firmly planted on the ground. They've never seen a large hollow object accompanying anything that's bigger than the Earth, and neither have I. So you're in good hands with Swiss America Trading. Call and get the newsletter. Find out how you can get your hands on some real money, not this phony stuff you've been carrying around in your pocket.
And there's his
It's not
grift
worth
right there.
anything.
There's the money, the
And
gold.
sometime soon, we're going to play Stephen Jacobson's Wake Up
It was
America.
only
It's
natural that these people would shift to crypto. It really was. I mean,
Yeah, crypto is the new gold shill, but all the right wingers did the gold thing, and that they really that it does connect with the crypto, in that this is all like anti-Federal Reserve conspiracism based.
Yes.
yeah, because you know the federal, what was it, the Emergency Act and all that, and of course, you know, that was why the Titanic was sunk. So you're you know, when you go into like the Federal Reserve shit, you're going way deep.
Oh, for sure.
so that you can understand fully what I'm talking about, because it's the best education on money, economics, and the taxing system that I have ever seen in my life. I don't think it can ever be surpassed. I don't think there's anything that can be added to it or subtracted. But anyway, real money is gold and silver coin, always has been, always will be. The Constitution for the United States of America says right in it, no state shall
It
money
glitches a little bit sometimes.
is a silver coin with a specific weight of measurement and purity of silver in it, and that's called a dollar. Until you take out one of those funny things out of your wallet, hold it up, it says $1, and it's not a dollar. Can't be a dollar. The law says a dollar is made out of silver, and it can be an equivalent value in gold. So, what's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on. This country's being robbed right out from under us. It's very simple once you understand how this works. Once you understand that a hard currency or a hard money system, gold and silver coin, has never failed in the history of the world. No paper system has ever failed to fail. It's always failed. And this one's going to fail too sometime soon. We're building to a climax here. We've overloaded everything. We are sitting on a mountain of speculation and inflated values that don't exist. And when it comes tumbling down, it's going to make the biggest noise you've ever heard in history.
I think this is
The biggest
a thing where he, and I've seen this in a lot of his quotes, you know, in the book about him. He was at the right apartment complex, but he was always knocking on the wrong door. He had this right idea about this system of control, but to him it was like this external factor. It was not systemic, like, you know, the real, you know, the hyper normalization concept of what a conspiracy is, that it is a systemic thing. Like systemic racism is embedded, and it is a conspiracy, but it's systemic. There's no single person that you can say this person is behind this, because it's embedded. And so he was right in the sense of an embedded system of control, but he was always wrong about who. Like all these conspiracy theorists who say they're controlling you, they're at the right complex, but they're always knocking on the wrong door, because what's controlling you is this need for more money, more money, more money.
Where it's the billionaires that are fucking everybody. Like Elon Musk.
Only the ones, well, I mean, if you're a right wing type person, the billionaires are, like
Jeff
Alex Jones,
Bezos.
the billionaires are evil unless they're on our side.
Mm. I
But
was just
whereas,
go ahead.
like, every billionaire is evil, I'll say maybe Mackenzie Scott. She seems like a fucking sweetheart. I don't know,
I think she's trying
but
to give away her fortune from what I've read. What I've read so
I
far.
mean, and she seems like a sweetheart. She doesn't have that plastic quality that the new lady has. But there are no good billionaires. It's just a
No. I think
point
Abigail
blank.
Disney, I don't know how much she's worth, but I think she tries to do good. I don't know if she's a millionaire or a billionaire, but she's of the Disney family. I think she tries to do good from what I've read, but I'm not, sure. I can't, don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was thinking about, again, going to Bill Cooper, and if he were alive today, like what he would think of the federal government having a liquidity pool like in crypto, like what Trump and Elon are trying to do with crypto.
And selling buildings.
Oh,
There's buildings. I had posted on Blue Sky, like, if the
or
if the
what
government wants to sell buildings, I hear the Halloween stores are going to open soon.
am I saying that right? Liquidity pool. It's what the like Saudi Arabians have. Is that, am I saying that right? Their governments have, where like basically it's like a general fund for the governments where they can just dip in. It's right for corruption. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. What that is. I think I am, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't think Cooper would react too
I
well
I
to that.
never heard of that, but I mean, but also, but like, I don't know if it was you or Quacks I was talking to about this yesterday. Is that we're also kind of like, if he had been alive this whole time, would he have gotten used to this, and would he have eventually gone with the flow, or would he have, you know what I mean? He might have, because
That's why I practically insisted on this episode, because it really kind of, I think, points towards the answer to that question that you were proposing, and in that,
Oh,
I
it's not
really think
liquidity
that
pool.
he would have said that crypto was a scam. I
okay,
really don't think he would have fallen into the Trump, you know.
that's kind of heartwarming.
Yeah, it's not liquidity pool. That's what you have for crypto. I can't think of what it is that they want. It's like a thing. Oh gosh, Saudi Arabia wealth fund. That's it. What he would think of a wealth fund. Like it is so ripe for like I think he would lose his ever loving mind. I really do. Yeah, it would be so interesting. I don't think he would have fallen for all of this. I really
I'll be
don't.
right back. You guys can play. I'll still be listening.
Social upheaval is going to take place. You can't even imagine. I've studied these things for many years. I know what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. You better be prepared for it. Call Swiss America Trading. Get your hands on some real money. 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. Tell them that you're a steady listener to the hour of the time. You'll get red carpet treatment. I guarantee it. 1-800-BUY-COIN. Do it now.
Do it now.
Up in the sky. It's a bird. No, it's a plane. It's a frisbee. No, it's not a frisbee. It's Art Bell. It's Art Bell, and it is an incredible flying spheroid that follows, stalks. It's stalking a comet. It could get in big trouble. You know, that's against the law, ladies and gentlemen. Five 203334578 is the number. I'm going to get a ton of letters for tonight's broadcast telling me what a wonderful guy Art Bell is, and what a bad guy I am for criticizing his looniness. Well, that's life, So send all the letters you want. I'll put them in. Maybe I'll read them on the air. That would make another wonderful broadcast. Read the loony letters from the Looney Bin people
Oh
that
my
support the
gosh,
Looney
he is
Tunes on
really
the
going
Art
to
Bell
town
show.
on that.
That would just be loony, don't you think?
He keeps coming back to it too.
It's so fascinating to hear him like really go at it. Did him and Art ever have a conversation, or was it just like him attacking Art?
I don't think he was ever on Art Bell.
I'm gonna have to search because Fudgy has that archive of both their shows just to see if they ever went on or like how much they talked about each other. I'm fascinated by this dynamic.
Well, keep in mind that Art Bell was very tight with Lear, and Cooper had this huge falling out with Lear. So,
What was their falling out over?
I'm not sure of the specifics. I don't know too much about the interpersonal relationships between all of these guys, but
Me either.
Originally he thought Lear was okay, but I think Lear, when Cooper started being called out as being inauthentic, Lear said that Cooper was a fraud, and then of course Cooper came back with saying that Lear was, a government psyop shill, which, he may have been right on that.
Well, and Lear was a believer in the UFO stuff, right? So if Cooper was getting pushed out of that, then that would stand to reason that Lear would go more towards Art Bell.
We're going to use the term believer with Lear in some serious quotation marks.
Yeah.
And I caught when I was downstairs when you were playing the clip of him really going hard at Art Bell and saying, I bet I'm going to get a lot of letters about this. And then you said that he repeats that a lot in this episode. That's a publicity stunt.
Oh, not the bit about the letters.
Yeah, but he wants to piss people off. And he wants them to say, hey, do you hear this guy talking shit about Art? Because then more people are going to tune in. It's a publicity stunt.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the social media algorithm in that, conflict breeds engagement.
Sure, it's what Alex and David Icke, we saw that with him with Russell Brand, and going after Alex recently. Except they were doing it over the radio back then in fax machines and letters.
Yep.
Oh boy. And I got a thing here from Gary Hunt. Gary Hunt is provocateuring again. Gary Hunt is a government provocateur. He works for the government, the BATF, trying to get patriots and militia members to do something stupid. Here he's written a big old tome justifying terrorism as an act of war that we should all be engaged in, and he's criticizing patriot leaders for not doing it and for chastising those who would consider it and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, this is just classic. If we don't get any more calls, I'm going to read this whole thing to you because it's funny. I mean, it's just absolutely hilarious, and I don't see it. People are buying that too. They say, "Oh, Gary Hunt is a patriot leader, a militia leader." He's not. He doesn't have a militia. He's not in a militia. He's not a patriot leader. He's a bullshit artist, is what he is, folks, and a provocateur. He has just spent most of the last few years trying to get patriots to do stupid things so that they can be discredited and laughed at and locked up and thrown in jail so that these socialists can have their new world order. Pretty soon there's not going to be anybody left to oppose it if you all keep going off the deep end and buying into all this crap. Oh boy. Let me read you something here somebody posted to me on the internet. It says, in the past few weeks, Art Bell has been saying
the Hunt guy was at the refuge at Malphar.
Mina, this is Bill Cooper. He originally started out as a he wrote "Behold a Pale Horse." Oh, she was talking about. He wrote "Behold a Pale Horse," and it crossed over between UFO believers, that kind of culture. It crossed over to the militia community, and it crossed over to the hip hop community, like including like Wu Tang Clan members. And it is kind of he was like a grand conspiracy theory kind of umbrella, and then like QAnon. It goes into like today. He went down in there was an arrest warrant issued for him, and he got into a shootout with sheriffs, which we'll talk about his death when we get there. But he shot a sheriff in the head, and then he was shot in a gunfire. So yeah, he's kind of not the
Shot a
grandfather.
deputy in the head, I believe.
Yes, he's not the grandfather of conspiracy theories, but he's kind of like the glue between picking up a whole bunch of conspiracy theories, and then like his book, it became so popularized and just crossed so many different barriers, ethnic,
Wu Tang.
racial. Yeah, I mentioned that. Racial, economic statuses. I mean, he's just quite incredible. Yeah, Bill Cooper. Yeah, that's who he is, Mina. Um, and like Timothy McVeigh from the Oklahoma City bombing, he was a big fan of him. He met him. He bought his Waco cassette tapes. He was inspired by him. Like he is some kind of person. So we're listening to a broadcast of his from, when was this, Quacks?
96.
1996. So we're listening to this. We're going to finish it, and then we're going to listen to him go off on Alex Jones, and then we're going to listen to a 9/11 thing. But we really wanted to cover him, and because a lot of people still kind of look up to him, especially the militia movement. And Behold a Pale Horse, a lot of people still read that book. It's very anti-Semitic. He reprinted the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, but he calls it, like, he doesn't say it is anti-Semitic. He's a very complex figure.
Well, he specifically says that it's not anti-Semitic.
Yes. Oh, so Mina's check. Yeah, so like the people you cover, Mina, like, and that we talk about, like the J6ers. No, don't interrupt. No, you're not interrupting. I'm glad you're asking the questions. Like the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, they would be very well aware of Bill Cooper, and his book and things like that, like, because he's been an inspiration to the militias over the years.
Well, an interesting thing, Mark Jacobson, when he was writing the book about Bill Cooper, the biography, he was at a bar in Arizona, not far from where Bill Cooper lived and died. And it was election night. And there was a woman in a MAGA hat who was talking to Jacobson, and she said, Pizzagate is totally real. Blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. And, this is obviously before QAnon started. That was October 28th, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But, Pizzagate was already there. So we have a proto QAnon woman, and Jacobson is talking to her, and she's all happy Trump won. And she's talking about sheeple, and she's talking about do your own research. And Jacobson's like, are you sure you never heard of Bill Cooper? And she's like, no, who is that? So there are even some, like, and this was 2016. 2016. This is there are people who aren't aware of Cooper, but his ideas are shit that they're spewing out without even knowing.
Exactly. He's just permeated the culture so much. His ideas are all over online and in so many communities. No, you did not interrupt at all, Mina. Please. That's important. And he's important to the groups that you do study and report on.
Large object is following behind the Hale-Bopp comet and that it is larger than the Earth. Some of this info can be found on his homepage at www.artbell.com. He has also said that the object has been sending a warning radio message. It's warning us. It's coming to attack us, but it's warning us so we can get ready and kill it before it gets here. Yeah, that's something enemy armies always do. They always warn the other side, He says, this all sounds very suspicious, and it may be in line with scenario number 5 from Behold a Pale Horse. That's my book, folks, and that's exactly what it's in line with. This seems to be a plan to bring the masses to believe that an alien threat is upon us. Also, Mr. Bell has refused to discuss Freemasons on his talk show and is promoting global positioning systems to the public. His radio audience is said to be about 10 million through over 60 affiliates, and the broadcast is in the very early morning hours, and people just rave over this stuff. They think it's the cat's meow. 520-333-4578 is the number. I think I'm going to read this from Gary Hunt so that you'll all be able to know what it is that I'm talking about here. This is from Gary Hunt, the Outpost of Freedom. Actually,
My
it's
God, that
the
chuckle.
Outpost of Entrapment, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Terrorism or an Act of War. Listen very carefully to the bullshit that Gary Hunt is spreading around now to everybody, and they're reading it and calling it a stroke of genius. Dresden, Germany, February 1945, a series of Allied bombing raids resulted in virtual firestorms, nearly destroying this city, which dated from the early 13th century, along with many of its centuries-old architectural landmarks. 135,000 people, the vast majority being women and children, died during these raids. August 1945, Hiroshima, Japan, 3/5 of the city destroyed, along with 75,000 people, mostly women and children. Just a few days later, another atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, destroying half the city and killing another 75,000 people, again mostly women and children. These three events killed 285,000 people, yet they were acts of war and were intended to end World War II. During the Vietnam War, Haiphong, the major North Vietnamese city, was bombed over and over, and in 1972 the harbor was mined. Much of the city was destroyed and tens of thousands lost their lives. There was, however, no declaration of war to justify these acts, yet we perceive them to be acts of war. April 15, 1986, in a strategic operation, naval air forces attacked military targets in Tripoli, Libya. One of those targets was the home of Muammar Gaddafi. Hundreds were killed, yet no declaration of war had existed between the United States and Libya. December 20th, 1989, United States forces under the operational name Just Cause invaded Panama with the purported purpose of arresting Manuel Noriega on drug trafficking and money laundering charges. Hundreds died and significant damage to the capital of Panama resulted. After trial in December 1992, the federal judge from Miami ruled that Noriega was a prisoner of war. On January 15, 1991, unified forces from 31 nations began a new form of warfare without declaration against Iraq. For 5 weeks, smart missiles and smart bombs were directed against the capital, Tehran. Smart bombs were able to enter ventilation stacks of bomb shelters, killing women and children without destroying the shelter. Cruise missiles traveled hundreds of miles to explode close to their targets, killing tens of thousands of civilians in this new game of attrition.
Hold on, Gary Hunt was at the same place Pam was.
Yeah, the wildlife reserve. That was after Cooper had died, but the article that I found about Gary Hunt, it was like an FBI link. I posted it in the chat.
Up above.
He had been at the reserve. Right there, the SPLC article, that was the one.
When
And
she was with Ammon Bundy.
yeah, so he was at that same reserve. So ladies and gentlemen, now we can draw a loose connection between Pam and Bill Cooper, I guess.
That's Pam Hemphill we're referring to. She was part of the what was Ammon Bundy's the People's, what was that called?
The chuckle fucks sovsits of
But
whatever.
it was called the People's what was his movement called? The
The
People's
People's Temple. No, I'm kidding.
But she did. She was part of that, and that's what she was filming. And actually, when Pam went to J6, she was filming as part of that. Like, she wasn't truly MAGA, and a lot of people think that, but she went filming for Ammon.
Oh, that's why it's easy for her to say that she's former MAGA.
Pam the Scam, yeah. She was doing it for Ammon Bundy's group filming. And yeah, a lot of people think she's former MAGA, but she's full of shit. Pam the Scam is right. That's interesting.
Never, however, a treaty of peace, for there was never a declaration of war. These acts are not considered to be acts of terrorism, for they occurred during the course of a war. It is quite clear that during a war, acts which might otherwise be considered below the dignity of man can occur and be accepted as a consequence of war. If there is a war and thousands die, those deaths are written off as a consequence of war. Even without the accepted norm of a declaration, war can be waged against innocent civilians with no effort made for discrimination of targets. Now remember, folks, this is not me saying this. This is Gary Hunt. I'm reading from a letter that he posted on the internet. Since the declaration of war has become an unnecessary act, perhaps we can find a way of determining when a war exists by other means. In the academic American Encyclopedia, under court, we find that courts fulfill three important functions. One, they resolve disputes that, while often routine, are crucial to those involved. Two, they provide protection from illegal actions by government and individuals. And three, occasionally they resolve disputes of great political and social significance. Clearly, then, under a normal circumstance, protection from illegal acts by government should leave the government open to be punished by the court. It might then be said that if government can commit illegal acts with impunity, that a state of war exists. No judicial process will hold the victors to task. Justice must be set aside during time of war, which is clearly affirmed in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, dealing with habeas corpus, and Article 5, Bill of Rights, dealing with exemption from grand jury process.
Keep in mind, this
Perhaps
is because he
war,
doesn't
since
have any
declarations
callers.
have become a thing of the
I was going to say, he is really like just reading this. Like,
Yeah, and that's why he's razzing on art. He wants more people to call in.
he is just like reading this, which is interesting. Don't get me wrong. But like, come on, somebody call him. Come on, give Cooper another, thing.
past can best be determined by the fact that no trials are held to determine justice or injustice for the deaths that are a consequence of hostile action. How else in this modern age can the determination be made that a war even existed? This being the case, perhaps we should look around and see if there are other wars going on, perhaps at this very moment. Maybe we should start back in August 1992. Hostilities broke out, and in the first incident, 2 men were killed. Hostilities ceased for a few days, but then another act of senseless murder occurred when Vicki Weaver stood in her doorway and was killed by a single sniper's bullet. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a drink of water there.
Back to Ruby Ridge.
Gotta take a drink of
Well,
water.
this was clearly not a war, since a trial was held. Unfortunately, even though 3 people were killed, none were found guilty. This, then, must be a war, because war crime trials were held, but the heinous offender could not be identified. You see this convoluted logic, folks? Just a few months later, another war began. This war lasted 51 days, and the subsequent war crimes trials were held almost a year later. We know that this was a war because 9 people were found guilty of killing or other related acts of complicity, 4 men who were dressed and equipped as soldiers. Now, the enemy soldiers killed in these 2 incidents had some common ideologies, and they had other ideologies that were at opposite ends of the spectrum. That, however, was true from World War II to Operation Desert Storm. It is the side that you take that determines which side you are on during a war. Whoop-de-doo. He had to write this whole letter to determine that. We can determine which side each side was on in these last 2 incidents by looking at a couple of factors. I don't have to look at anything. I know the Branch Davidians were the Branch Davidians, and the other ones were the Nazi jackbooted thugs. By looking at a couple of
I love the
factors. First was the
whoop-de-doo.
uniforms. One side chose black military uniforms, complete with web gear, automatic rifles, tanks, helicopters, grenades, and other modern implements of the game of war. The other side wore normal clothes, jeans, dresses, sneakers, etc., and used simple legal weapons. They also sought refuge in
Legal
their home and
weapons.
place of worship. The final indication
Yeah, because legal weapons, that wasn't why the ATF was exactly going in. Now, I disagree with a lot of what happened at Waco. I'll just say that because there was a different way that they could have handled all of that, but they weren't exactly all legal and everything that was happening in their bill.
No, well,
It's complicated. Waco's very
it's
complicated.
interesting too that there's actually a parallel between him getting killed and Waco, in that with Waco, they could have very easily gotten him while he was out jogging
Oh
or
my
going
gosh,
into the
yes.
city. And the exact same thing
With
was
Bill?
the case with
Yeah.
Cooper, because he used to sneak into town for Mexican,
Yeah.
And he'd
and
go into the bar and he'd go for like groceries and stuff like that. And
yep,
the police assessment of him had like said like it is known that he has like a semi-automatic gun by the door. Like we know that he has a gun here. We know that he has a gun here. We know that he has a gun here. And their like assessment was he does have concealed carry, but the best chance to get him is away from his house.
so that they tried to lure him out of his house, but they tried to lure him down his driveway, basically, instead of doing what they really could have done, which was just to get him when he went into town.
Which is so
And
foolish. I don't understand because
Just idiocy upon idiocy
it
upon
is.
idiocy. And the shit that happened at Ruby Ridge and Waco led to Oklahoma City. And I'm not saying that the government is responsible for Oklahoma City. What I'm saying is that the government's bullshit at Ruby Ridge and Waco, and you don't have to be right wing to think this way, was bullshit. It was overhanded. Janet
was.
Reno was a fucking monster. And there were 3 big publicized cases that she stepped in overhanded. Right, Waco, Ruby Ridge, and the little Cuban boy, Elian Gonzalez, the
Yeah.
picture of the little frightened child with a fucking gun in his face. Yeah, all of that was like Janet Reno. The government created the modern militia movement with the shit that they did.
They helped
well,
accelerate it.
I don't think you can blame it all on Janet Reno. I mean, I think that
No,
the
there was
ATF,
a lot
I
of
think the
other
no.
ATF and the FBI have plenty
and
of
Clinton.
Yeah,
He approved
blaming
it.
their own.
yeah. So much. I'm not saying it was just her, but like so, there were so many people to blame. But it's just like with conspiracy theories and why they're so prevalent in our society. People are like, what why are all these militia movements and why are all these conspiracy theories? Because the government gave people the reason to believe that these things were like real or necessary.
I think it helped in accelerating the militia movements and all of this stuff. And I think it helped with the conspiratorial movement, thinkings and things like that. I mean, I look back on it and it's absolutely fucking horrifying at all that stuff that happened. There was no reason Waco should have happened, Ruby Ridge, all of that stuff. It could have
Yeah,
been
you
handled
don't
much better.
you don't shoot a mother while she's holding a 7-month-old infant. You don't do that. I'm
Well,
sorry, you just don't.
A little bit of, I don't want to completely.
She was armed, I know.
I know they weren't shooting for her.
No, they weren't.
They hit her she was behind. They were aiming for him.
Yeah.
But why were they shooting in a cabin where there was an infant child?
Yes, that right there is the issue.
Yeah, that is
The issue is why were they just trying to shoot these people out? And why did they shoot the kid's dog?
Yeah, that was unnecessary.
Why did they shoot Sammy in the back? Yes, Sammy did shoot the ATF agent first because the ATF agent shot his dog Striker, and Sammy shot at the agent, and as Sammy was running, 14-year-old boy, yes, he did shoot an agent. He was shot from behind.
The ATF is like a box of chocolates.
Yep.
They'll kill your dog.
Yes, they
Yep.
will.
And your 14-year-old son.
I think we're all in agreement. Fucking shitty. Fuck the police. That's all
Yeah,
I gotta say.
I don't think it's really um, controversial to say that the Oklahoma City bombing was basically a direct result
No.
of Waco and Ruby Ridge.
But I mean, I think the government should hold some responsibility for it to some extent, because
Yeah.
we always end up paying for their past mistakes when any act of terrorism occurs. It's not the actual people who are committing these, when bin Laden attacked America, he wasn't actually, except for the Pentagon, obviously, he wasn't actually directly attacking New York City. Like, it's this terrorism, the wave of terrorism, both foreign and domestic. A lot of the U.S. government is to blame for that, because we really stuck our fingers in shit we shouldn't have.
Blowback.
Yes.
Indicators that they fired only in self-defense. Surely these were of the same side in this most recent war, and it must be war, since even the commanding general at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. never described the acts of the enemy as terrorism. On April 22, 1993, I left Waco after 47 days to return to Florida. He also left with a copy of our press credentials that he stole from us. I remember that I was somewhat dumbfounded by the events of April 19th, and until I returned to Waco in mid-May, had not been able to sort out certain thoughts. When I returned to Waco and finally stood on the concrete that was once the floor of the Mount Carmel Church, I looked around and saw partially burned remnants of utensils, clothes, books, letters, and toys, indicative of the lives once lived and since lost here. I recalled similar situations in Vietnam and realized finally that there was a state of war here in the United States of America. I realized that I was at war with the United States government, but that the war that I was in was still a Cold War. Not so for those who died in those ashes, but for many, a state of war had begun. Excuse me. Excuse me. Then comes another group of soldiers, jeans, slacks, driving cars and trucks, not tanks, and counter these previous self-defensive acts of war with an act that is a bit more offensive, but no more so than the initial acts, the two battles just mentioned. Now, however, we hear the battle cry come up from the side that wears the black uniforms. Terrorism, they yell, over and over again. Terrorism, it's unfair, and they killed women and children. Terrorism, there is no other word for it. The battle cry is taken up by many leaders who were on the side of the homespun folk. Look how he uses this psycho-political bullshit here. Homespun folks? You know anybody who has a spinning wheel in their house and makes their own clothing, ladies and gentlemen? Makes their own cloth to make their own clothing, I should say. Well, I don't. There may be some out there, but I don't. We're not homespun folk, Gary Hunt. We're just ordinary.
Typical
Americans.
conspiracy theorist doesn't understand metaphors.
No. I was like, I don't think he's getting that, or he does, and he's like, yeah, he's.
But you see, that somehow gives them an air of legitimacy and makes his point of psycho-political crap here. Homespun folk. Many who just a few years before cried out that the surprise attacks by the black uniformed soldiers were acts of war, now cry terrorism along with their enemies of the recent past. Condemn them, they yell. Hang them after a quick and speedy trial. They are not warriors, they are cowards. Hang them, be done with them. The cry comes out from all those leaders who profess so recently to be on the side of the, here he uses it again, homespun patriots. Well, I haven't heard anybody crying those things, folks. The people that I know, Americans, believe that nobody is guilty until they're proven guilty and found guilty by a jury of their peers. I haven't heard anybody crying, hang them. They're not warriors, they are cowards. Hang them, be done with it. I haven't heard anybody say any of those things. He goes on, meanwhile, many who just a few years before had taken the battle cry of do whatever is necessary to end this mess are now questioning the fairness of the actions of the black uniforms and beginning to understand why the poorly equipped soldiers of the other side have resorted to an act that cost 167 lives, and that's clear crap. Nobody understands that I know. And I know and talk to most of the people who are the true leadership in this country. We all know that was an act of terrorism. And if you're going to win a war, you're not going to do it by blowing up a building full of men, women, and children sitting around typing on typewriters. That's not the way you win a war. That's the way you terrorize people. That's the way you make people angry at you. And that's the way you turn off public support. He says, perhaps it might be best to dispel the association of baby killer with the act that occurred in Oklahoma City. Since the 60s, the construction of federal buildings has been an anti-terrorist design. Since the bombing of Flight 103, we have been advised that federal buildings are potential targets of such bombings. As we learned from Waco, keeping your children in a location that has danger associated with it leaves the responsibility on the parent, not the aggressor. In fact, I never knew that there were daycare centers in federal buildings. I would have supposed prior to April 19th that the government had enough concern for the children to locate this type of facility in least space away from what was known to be a potential target. The determination of what constitutes an act of terrorism has to be with each of us individually. It cannot be left to a government.
Isn't he in a very underhanded way blaming the federal government for having the daycare inside the Oklahoma City building? Like they should have known better to protect the children because it was a potential target.
That's him reading What's His Face.
Oh, he's reading Hunt. Okay, he's still reading
Yeah.
Hunt. I thought he was commenting on it. I got lost
No,
because he did comment for a bit.
He disagrees with that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I misunderstood. All right.
Controls the weapons of war, the streets, and the language to make that determination for us. For if we are to allow this to happen, the stigma that will be placed on any act, whether it be killing 4 BATF agents, assaulting a church in Texas, or a U.S. Marshal who has just been involved in the killing of a dog and the murder of a 14-year-old boy, are
I wanted to say something quick. I was never, into like the neo-Nazi stuff, the hardcore racism stuff, any of that. But the Ruby Ridge and the Waco stuff, I did feel it radicalize me. Even, as a teenager, I felt like I really had that sentiment. You didn't have to be left or right to feel the sentiment of
No.
fuck the government.
You didn't.
And that is what is so unique about this time period, I think, is that you could be left or right and be a left-wing person could be standing next to a militia person, and they both have the same argument about what happened at Waco or Ruby Ridge.
I was outraged. I thought it was government
I
overreach. They
was
did not like it was just fucking terrible.
But just hearing like Cooper talk about it, like just it was.
I mean, I think that they should
so
have taken
bad.
down David Koresh. Don't get me wrong. He was fucking molesting children, everything he was doing there. Like,
Yeah.
but they could have done it in a different way because a lot of innocents were killed there.
They just wanted to that was like their chicken hawk, like they want to be big boys and show everybody, Look how tough I am. I'm the ATF. Did you want to continue?
I thought Quacks was going to say something. His mic was open. I was
Oh,
waiting. I thought he was going to say something.
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, well, your mic was open, so I thought you were going to say something. So, like, I was waiting to see, and I thought maybe like you were like gathering your thoughts, and I was
Yeah, I thought I was going to say something too, but I'm not.
like, I wonder what Bill Cooper would have thought about the storming of the Capitol on J6. Just hearing him speak right now, like about the militia movement and how it developed, I, I'm so confused on where he stands on certain stuff. Hearing him talk about this guy's letter here and like the militia movement, like I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on what he would have thought about J6?
I don't think he would have been very happy about it.
I'm getting the sense that he wouldn't have been happy with it either.
And I think one of his reactions to it would have been like this Gary Hunt thing, like you're making us look bad.
Yeah. That kind of is the sense I'm getting from listening to him. Is that true? What
Wait,
he's saying?
I
wait.
don't
Is
know.
he saying that Gary Hunt is John Doe number 3?
He's saying, I don't know what you're referring to, Steph, but he's saying that Gary Hunt was there a week before it happened. He knew about it, and he was caught on camera walking away with a transmitter in
Oklahoma,
his hand.
yeah, I think he was what there was they had the suspect images of John Doe number 1 and John Doe number 2, which they later matched to McVeigh and what was the other, Terry Nichols. And there was this mysterious John Doe number 3, and I gotta say, I'm kind of on the fence as to whether the conspiracy theorists are right about the John Doe number 3 or not. There is some compelling evidence that the government did kind of hide evidence of a John Doe number 3. And if you listen to John Ronson's debutante, there were like legitimate connections between Elohim City and Oklahoma City, and that the government just kind of like, you know, so
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? It's interesting because you'll see this in different conspiratorial things and like people taking the works of people like Cooper, where they bastardize like Timothy McVeigh bastardized Cooper's stuff. Like if we're believing that Cooper would have been not in line with what they did at J6, and it seems like Cooper here, and I haven't listened to more of his Oklahoma City coverage, but that McVeigh went too far for what Cooper would have believed him. So Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols bastardized what Cooper was actually calling for or believed in.
Well, I wouldn't really want to give anyone the impression that like Cooper directly influenced McVeigh to terrorism.
No, I'm just
Just
saying that he
because
was
he
part
listened to him
influence.
for the conspiracy theories and all of that.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm taking
And
like he was an influence on the militia movement as a whole, Cooper.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
And I found a Rumble link. Gary Hunt responds to accusations he is Oklahoma City bomber John Doe number 4. I didn't know that they expanded it to a John Doe number 4, but that kind of plays in with the missing does. I guess that's what that would be. I never bought into the Oklahoma City bombing conspiracy theories, but I have heard a few of them. Um, the only one that I know is absolutely like proven accurate is that there was an extra limb.
Yeah, that they still have it. I've heard that one.
The leg, yeah, and
Yeah.
Art talked about it. That's where he first heard about it. It's a very little known fact, but a very strange one. It was probably like a homeless person. I mean, there are probably like homeless people that got lost in 9/11 that no one will ever know
Oh,
about,
sure.
so but the so apparently this Gary Hunt thing was this is giving me so many interesting avenues to like look at. I wanted to make an interesting, just a fun factoid real quick. If you guys remember in the Clerks movie, they get into an argument about the ethics of the Death Star. What about the contractors who were working on there who had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the Empire? That argument was actually presented by Tim McVeigh when he was asked about the deaths of the innocent people in the building. He actually, and I'm not sure if he got that from Clerks or if Clerks got it from him. I think he got it from Clerks, but he actually did use that example. Stop making me look bad.
Exactly.
it's just interesting that we got to see what would happen with Gary Hunt later on. Like, Cooper was on to something when he's saying this guy's bad news, but he was on to it in the wrong way. Like, this guy was like
Do you
a
think
real
Cooper would have cared
terrorist.
that he doxed FBI agents, though?
I'm gonna go ahead and say with our current administration right now, I wouldn't care if they did that.
I mean, really? Like, Cooper caring that he doxed FBI agents? That's like, you know?
But from a conspiracy theory perspective, that seems like that would be the type of thing that you do to prove to your handler. It like that was
Oh,
something
yeah.
cooked up by the FBI to show the Patriots, I'm really one of you guys, you know.
True.
That's a lot for that time.
I was just getting ready to say, holy fuck, for 1995, $34.95? That's a lot.
Yeah, back for 96. Like, oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to pull up the inflation calculator. I'll be right back.
That's a lot, Cooper.
Okay, I did it. I put in 34.95 and it asked me for a month. So I just guessed June of 1996 is equivalent to $70.85 in January of this year.
Whoa.
That's a serious book.
I just wanted to hear the ending. I wanted to hear how he went out, and it's the dun 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 dun.
Oh, this is good.
Oh my oh my god.
I like that.
That was so good. That was a great episode, Quacks. That was really good.
Yeah, now,
That
now
was
you see
great.
why was saying that we definitely should do that one rather than the Hoaxland.
That was really, really good. I really enjoyed that one. That was
But
really good.
again, you also see this like impulse to do the stupid immature nicknames,
It was pretty funny
like
though.
Richard Hoaxland
Yeah.
and Art babbling bullshit. But that's also something that we see a lot in our modern culture.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it carried over. Oh, you enjoyed it, Mina? Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
It was great, Quacks. You are so beautiful.
Um, we, we'll do. How about we do? Because Steph said it's only like 3 minutes. Steph, do you want to explain what we're setting up here with the 9/11? What this is?
Okay, Bill Cooper predicted, supposedly predicted 9/11. Um, and he didn't really. His prediction was based on a misinterpretation. You might want to scroll it back like a few seconds.
Okay.
Sorry. Bill Cooper prediction. Find where that should start.
Oops, sorry. Um.
Go back to urban moving. It's right after urban moving and Mossad.
Okay.
I don't know why YouTube makes it so difficult to find the exact start of the chapter.
Oh, here we go. This might help.
Oh, okay.
Urban moving. How far down do we have to go? Oh, here it is.
We are. Yep. Okay.
217. Okay. Go ahead and set it up.
So we want the one after urban moving. We want the Bill Cooper prediction.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to use urban moving as like a place.
Okay, go ahead and set it up and I'll get it.
Okay, so Bill Cooper supposedly predicted 9/11. This is one of his most famous things, but he didn't really. His prediction of 9/11 was a misinterpretation of a rerun of an old interview. And that's what this clip is going to explain.
Okay.
it ends there.
Yeah,
But
I just
I
want to say that that was back in when I was, you know, coming out of my conspiracy theory days. And 20 minutes after hearing that the plane hit, somebody asked me who I thought did it. And I said, well, they're going to blame it on Osama bin Laden.
Well,
Oh, quacks.
that was great that you picked that, Steph, because a lot of that plays into Alex Jones was right about 9/11 and predicted it because he takes some from Bill Cooper. And I covered that whenever I went to the Tucker Carlson, Jack Posobiec, and Alex Jones thing because they were saying he was right. So I had to break that down. And he takes from Cooper and what they were all saying. Intelligence agencies have been saying that for years. It was known that they were tracking and that Osama bin Laden was
Right.
likely going to attack the United States. It was out
Right.
there.
And yeah, and even the presidential daily brief, the famous Osama bin Laden August 2001 memo, that wasn't released, I believe, until like 2002, 2003, and that was with great outcry. But if you were someone like Bill Cooper, if you were someone like Alex Jones, if you were someone like Peter Jennings, okay, if you were someone plugged in to what was going on in the world, and I worked at a newspaper and I was still just as clueless as I am today. You when they said Osama bin Laden, I remember my reaction was, who is this guy? Because I'm a clueless idiot. But it was not a shock. The people like me who got pulled into the conspiracy theory stuff, I think were just the people who were like, oh, we never heard of this guy before because we were ignorant. And like, but a lot of the people who were plugged in, it was easy to make this prediction because the USS Cole had just been bombed. There was a bunch of shit.
Well, that wasn't the first attack on the World Trade Center either.
Oh,
Nope.
right,
Nope.
93?
93. And as they were flying the one guy past the World Trade Center afterwards, the FBI agent takes off the guy's blindfold and he says, see, they're still standing. And the guy says, if we had had more money, they wouldn't be. Plus, you have the Bojinka plot. That is the least discussed element of 9/11. And I'll be honest with you, if I had heard about the Bojinka plot when I was a conspiracy theorist, I would have been like, maybe Al Qaeda did do this. Like, I think Bojinka would have thrown a wrench in everything for me. But there was, and people like Alex Jones and Bill Cooper had to have known about Bojinka.
Well, and Alex Jones also knew about, there was a guy who had written a book at that time period too, and I can't think of his name, but he had been interviewed in a newspaper at that time too. So he was using a lot of his information.
Is that the French guy Terry Masson,
I can't think of his name right
or
now.
was it David Ray Griffin?
I can't, Steph, I honestly
Okay.
right now, like you
Okay.
could throw a bunch of names at me. I would
And
be
I
like,
could too. I could throw
and
a
I would
bunch
be
of
like,
names at you.
I I don't know right now off the top of my head. You could keep throwing them at me. I'd be like, oh, how about
Just come to me for all of your weird 9/11 shit, baby.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to make sure I had the right Cooper thing. I mean,
Oh, and I wanted to say, could you put the link for that video in there? It's like the whole video is 3 hours long, but it is really fascinating. There are a few minor errors in there, like Josephine Harris did not have a broken leg; she had a fallen arch. Um, that's how nerdy I am. And he does do a follow up to that video. If you subscribe to his channel, there's another video that is like the 9/11 iceberg frequently asked questions, where he addresses some of those errors. So
hang on one second. Let me open up my history here in my YouTube.
And these iceberg videos, I came across them by mistake on YouTube, there's like rabbit hole iceberg, there's like lost media icebergs. They just as long as you have your mind in the right place, go searching for iceberg videos on YouTube. They're really fun.
Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Pause. Stop. Okay, there we go. Share. Copy. Okay, there we go. Hi, Muggsy. Do you have any idea how? Oh my gosh, you heard him on shortwave. That is wild. Okay, we have Cooper is going to go after Alex Jones. Is there a certain place where this starts, or does he just start laying into him right away, Quacks?
Oh, sorry. It's right in the beginning. I
Okay.
forgot to turn my mic back. I'm like talking into the microphone. Wait a minute.
All righty.
You get to hear the dogs again.
Alex would steal this for his show.
Wait a minute. This isn't the dog opening.
Oh, I am so here for this. I did not know he starts right away. I forgot. I did listen to this when you sent it, Quacks, but it's been a crazy week. I am here for this.
I feel like I should be chanting, Jerry, Jerry.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Shelby,
I'm dying here. Go ahead, Steph.
what he said to Alex, and I sent the link there for the
Fudgy.
he said You're going to be right up there on the scaffold hanging with the rest of them. Well, sir, again, Mr. Cooper, have a good one, and thanks for being with us this evening.
Oh my gosh, is that what he said to Alex? Holy shit.
If you want to pull up that link, it's at timestamp 4514. If you want to play that one, him saying the scaffolding.
Hold on.
Well, you should wait till the
Yeah,
Alex
we'll
Jones
wait till
thing
we're
is
over
done
with
there.
this, then I'll play it.
Okay.
I'll get that ready. Oh my gosh.
So Coop
Fucking
is
great.
just flat. He's just flat out lying.
We'll listen to this and then we'll play the truth. Fucking love these two. I mean, not really, but I hate love them. You know
And
what I
we
mean.
love Fudgy yet again. Thank you, Fudgy.
Quacks, I just want to say I love you for getting this. I remember this episode because I believe Knowledge Fight covered it, or I listened to it
they
personally.
did.
Yeah.
And they bring it up every once in a while when Alex will make some snarky comment about someone believing something stupid. They're like, "You thought the world was going to end on Y2K, Alex."
Yeah.
But I mean, all the conspiracy. Was Art on that tick too? Was he on that?
I can't remember. I just remember Alex doing this whole thing, like they're launching. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Alex really did make an ass of himself.
Oh my gosh, Bill. Does he take calls on Alex Quacks?
Yeah, but it's not really worth. I mean, there's just people saying that
Bill was right.
yeah, they heard it. There's two people that call in and confirm it. But I just want to point out that this episode is labeled as Aphex Twin and Autechre. And I can't believe that he actually played Autechre, like with all the classical stuff that he plays. Like,
oh, he's great.
Wait. So he's playing Aphex Twin?
He was playing Aphex Twin and Autechre.
That's wild. Like their
It's
music
been so
shows up
long,
in
I
a
wouldn't
lot
even
of
be able to
stuff.
tell you which was which at this point. But I mean, I remember listening to Autechre back in the 90s.
Go up to about like 40 if you want to get it up to like the 44 minute, and like you could just hear like a minute, about a minute chunk of them talking, but the scaffolding is at like play it till right down there. Well, sir, again, Mr. Cooper, have a good one. That's the end of their.
Okay, let's start at 44 here. We'll start here.
Okay. Okay, so it I misread it. It's hard to get the context from reading the transcript. I thought he was telling Alex, "You'll be hanging," but I don't. If he were telling Alex he'll be up there on the scaffolding, okay, I would see that as a reason. So I apologize.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is
that's
hard to
not the
get the
context.
context from reading. It doesn't
Yeah,
seem. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
but there isn't, if in that's the only like really bad thing that I could find. So it must be some kind of personal tiff, or I don't know.
Well, Cooper basically says that he later found out what Alex Jones was. So
It's funny that both Cooper and Ike say the same thing about Alex.
it is interesting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but so I apologize for taking up everybody's time with that.
No, I actually was going to show. It was interesting because somebody did just to end this up here. Let me pull it up. It's from Find a Grave, but it had pictures of Cooper, like some of his old pictures and army pictures on there. Let me pull it up here. Where was that at? Oh, here we go. Mm-mm.
I want to try and get out there sometime when we're out in Arizona, if it's, along the way.
Let me zoom in a little bit here. There we go. Oh, I guess that's a. Oh my gosh, Shelby, get your shit together here.
Is that a Q on his
Oh gosh, no,
headstone?
I went too far. Oh gosh, not. Oh my gosh. Reset. There we go. All right, now let's try it. There we go. All right. So
It says QMI.
it does. QMI US Navy. Or is that OMI? I can't really
Wait,
tell.
he's giving us a message. QMI.
May 6, 1943, November 6, 2001.
Hey, wait. Q said to think mirror. QMI backwards is IMQ.
Now, his brother and sister are fraternal twins. I did know that. I was reading up on him a little bit today, fast reading. I think that's. See if I can zoom in. Oh, no, I don't know what's wrong with that. Picture of him. I guess that's where he broadcast, in his studio, in his home, because he did broadcast from his home. He didn't have like a studio was in his house.
What kind of computer was that? I'm curious if anyone can tell.
No idea.
Maybe an early IBM?
Bill with the serial killer glasses on.
But he looks actually happy there.
With his children and one of his wives. I'm assuming. Family, maybe. Bill being silly. Looks happy. These are his army pictures, or Navy, I'm sorry. Grave, too. Springfield Cemetery, where he's buried. Studio. I don't know where that is. They don't really give a lot of descriptions on these. That's
Looks like
older
a
Bill Cooper,
conference.
obviously.
It looks like he might be at a conference or something.
Perhaps, yeah. With his children or maybe grandchildren. I don't know because he looks older
Some
in
of
that photo.
them, some of them.
With his dog. And that's it. But I did want to just share that since I did find it.
And one of his daughters ended up going to prison for a few years. And I mean, it's not directly linked to Bill, but like all of his kids had trauma from it.
Really?
Yeah, like he was not a good man. There was one daughter that he was really connected to. She had a nickname and she would sometimes come on the show with him and stuff like that. But
Well,
he
I'm sure they
had
saw a lot
this.
of abuse in the home because he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You said how much
And
violence.
and just being a little kid, and even if you're not allowed to touch them or you don't see your parents touching them, just seeing guns as a little child, that that's not, that's like that like Terminator 2 thing where like young John Connor's like, yeah, I grew up around bombs and guns and shit. Like, no, not
Well, he
cool.
wasn't a well man. So, I mean, we
I
do know
grew up
that.
around a
No.
lot of guns.
Well, I mean, you hang out with us now. What does that say
Yeah,
about you?
we see what happened to me.
Well, I think I don't know if anybody has any closing thoughts on Bill or.
I had fun. I had fun doing this, and um it really I think this kind of like encourages me that this is where I need to be in the past, because view it the present is too fucking traumatizing right now. And I think looking in the past and seeing how it plays out in the now, for some reason that's just easier for me to study, and just having grown up and dabbled in the shit during that time period, like, you know.
I think it's all been very helpful to me doing this, and especially with Quacks coming on board and helping us to understand the stuff I used to read, and understanding where my second mother, the things that she believes in, and hopefully when she does come back around, or if and when, hopefully I am hoping that she, does at some point, that I'll be able to understand better the path that she's been on. It's helps. It's helping
And
me understand that a little more.
I think it's fascinating, and I think people need to understand how many people who, and even if you're not like a PhD, you know, and you're not like a sociologist or you're not in school or something, people need to realize that so many people who research extremism and conspiracy theories get into it because of a personal connection, because there's something that's affecting them or a loved one and they're seeking to know more. And I think that's very telling, that like, because we know Karma and you and me, Sassy, a lot, and Noel, a lot of people were, their lives were touched in some way by this stuff personally, and they're like, I want to study this. And I think that is very telling about the people who research these movements and how important this work is. And I see how important it is to you in everything you do.
I appreciate you, Quacks, especially because I know you were probably reticent to come on and do something like this, and sharing your voice for once, 2 times in a row now.
Yeah, thank you, Quacks. And I think like three of us is great, because if one of us can't make it, then there's two left. Like that's just a good number.
I need to do coffee again next time, like I did the first time, because a large portion of why I was muting my mic was to stop anyone from hearing me yawning and to hear my head if it hits the microphone.
I said, Taj, like before this, I was downstairs. I took that long nap and I woke up and I was like, I could go back to sleep and sleep till tomorrow. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Can you go get me some NAS? Like, I'm so tired. I don't think coffee's going to do it for me. Like, I'm so tired.
This is and I'm having it too. I think it's a fibro thing and a seasonal thing, even though we're on different sides of the country, because I used to feel this shitty this time of the year back in Pennsylvania too.
We are
Really
older
tough.
too. We're middle aged now too. So,
Yeah.
all
but
right. Well,
this
we all
is
need to get
tough.
off here and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But thank you guys again. Thank you for everybody who came tonight, everybody who's going to watch
Thank
later,
you.
the rebroadcast. I appreciate all of you. Thank you, Stefan Quacks.
Thank
And we'll
you.
figure out what we're going to do
You're
next
welcome.
week.
All right.
Oh, I think we're
And-
going to do TIs and gang stalking, right?
oh boy.
Yes.
Ah,
So we need to study up
woo!
TIs and gang
Yeah.
stalking.
And I'll start monitoring the TI groups in Telegram that I'm a member of.
So next week's going to be TIs and gang stalking. That's right. We already discussed that. So TIs, gang stalking. So that's what we'll be doing next week. So good night, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST.
See you
Good
guys.
night.
Bye.
Good night.